The international group stage made it possible to determine the lucky ones worthy of the next stage. From the 3rd to the 5th of November, the best 8 players of the tournament will compete for a stunning $30,000 prize pool. Join the stream of the Clash Royale Gamestars Season 2 International Finals and find out who will become the champion.
Hello, welcome to the International Finals of Gamestars League Season 2, and yesterday was a lot of fun, but today is all about saying goodbye to some of our competitors on their journey to $30,000. Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Guy. Joining me is our former world champion head coach Eric Benamou. And Eric, yesterday we saw all of our competitors face off, but we are going to be in the elimination side of the bracket today, my friend.
It's the funnest side of all, and this is the reason why every single person wants to stay in here. We saw 2 people yesterday lock in at least that 3rd and 4th $2,200, which is big money, but you want to go for that $7,000 first place. Is just, I mean, it's a good payday.
So today we're going to be sticking with all of those guys that struggled just a little bit to find their footing yesterday. We are in the elimination side of the bracket. It is a double elimination best of 5 format here in Gamestars. And to give you a little bit of a recap of what happened yesterday, let's take a look at this video. HP and SB's been doing a pretty good job kind of holding the line here, but Fireball plus Miner comes in to make that just a little bit closer. Log gonna send this in, gonna give the lead to SB for half a second as another Log comes back in for Inthril. 279. Miner on the tower, no catch there. Yeah, I mean, not only did Hugo play this really well, Eric, you got to give him credit for some incredible analysis when you talk about this deck that he's about to win with. He doesn't need to play it again. Yes, Predator can go back to the deck that we're seeing at the bottom of your screen here, but the fact that he has all of this kind of put together to go right up against the Lava Hound deck worked out great for him in game number 1, calling his opponent's number.
I like the idea there with the NATO. It was to push back that ghost, get some goblin damage, but he was ready for it. Hunter decides, I'm gonna not take any risks here, and this is the fastest I think I've ever seen 2 RGs actually go down. They're both hitting this drill.
Yeah, both RGs cycled in the lane of the Goblin drill, and right now Topic is having a very, very difficult time.
You need to readjust. We've said this many, many times. If you play the same defense over and over again, it is going to catch you. And this time around, I think Dimas caught him and caught him hard.
Yeah, Dimas there gets the mortar up in the spot. Look at that. A cross-country kite. Ram Rider's still going to get on tower, though. And now Dimas getting a bit overwhelmed here on both lanes.
Keep that Pekka healthy, but again, the Mother Witch is going down, and he missed the fireball.
See the tilt of the head there from Dimas, knowing that he's going to get completely overwhelmed now, missing that fireball on the Mother Witch. Shocking here, and even more surprising was some of the earthquakes that came out from Awesome, not really looking for those mortars. He could find himself in a better spot at the end of this game. Dangerously close to taking that tower.
And it's a panic RG on the bridge. He has Cage, he has Mega Minion. That is not going to make it anywhere. You need to stay calm in these situations. You just gave up your push yet again. This Dark Prince is going to get taken out, and this is almost GG. If he can get a Miner in here, get a set of arrows along with it to get those skellies out of the way, which I'm pretty sure he's going to do. There it is. That's more damage. Guards connect, and that's GG. You need to change something up, because right now he's getting more damage than you are. You're down to 393. I think he's being patient in the sense that, okay, if he fireballs my tower, I can go 1 more all in and maybe overwhelm, but he's running out of time as well.
Yep, time is going to run out, and one Hive Hunter is going to be in our losers bracket, the elimination bracket. Dimas is able to stay alive. It was Demas and Hugo, the only two competitors that were able to get out of yesterday without losing any set. They will be in our upper bracket finals tomorrow to face off against someone that might make their way all the way through the lower bracket, or one of them does still have a life to give. Let's talk a little bit more about our format while we look at the cards and decks here, Eric. We have a very unique format here at Gamestars.
We definitely do, and the reason why you're going to see a lot of the cards that, you know, the miners, the spear goblins, even yesterday, a lot of lava, is because you can repeat those cards in your decks. You have to switch up 2 cards, so basically you can repeat 6 cards, but that means that you can still go through the same archetype if you want all 4 times. And this time, yes, we have 4 decks and not 3. Last time we saw so many players get stuck with that 3rd deck they couldn't win with. This time you have a little bit more room to wiggle and really come out with something more surprising, and these are some of the decks from yesterday.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make about repeating win conditions, because we saw a ton of that yesterday, whether it was Predator or Hugo just playing Up in the Skies a ton, or if it was someone like SB who just gave us a lot of Hog Cycle with Earthquake. That is the thing with Gamestars, is you can repeat so many of the same cards. You can play the same archetype, but you have to swap out at least a couple. And then before, it used to be you brought 3 decks to the competition. You had to win with all 3. Now you can bring 4, and you only have to play 3 of them, which I think is a really, really great change here from Season 1 to Season 2. Because a lot of time in Season 1, we would find people struggling to get out of a set just because of one deck that they had. Just the one deck was hamstringing them, and now they're able to kind of put that on the bench for the rest of the set, and then maybe use it on later in the day. The other part of it is players can use the same decks that they used yesterday, or they can actually swap out the decks completely. So it's completely up to them what they want to do. And here is what the yesterday roadmap was. And we can see Hugo and Demas are still completely safe, but it is about everyone else and their sets that happen throughout the day.
Yeah, with SB and Predator first matchup, these are 2 people that could have easily been in that upper bracket finals. They're great players. They both had successful Gamestars Season 1. Obviously, Predator made some mistakes with that old format that we spoke about, where he was stuck with his mortar decks. He only had 3. He had no room to work with. This time around, also a little bit, I think a deck choice was an issue here. Got pretty countered, and Hugo obviously playing phenomenal yesterday. But I want to see if Predator can show us. Honestly, I would bring in some mortar, obviously, but you really need to surprise someone like SB. We know SB works with people like Julesy, and he has top tier analysis. You will not be able to just go out and play comfort, especially looking at what SB did yesterday. He went for the snipe.
Yeah, and the way that we had Predator playing yesterday, he did have a couple of heavy decks out there. We'll see if he goes for something a little bit faster. And he also had some really control-heavy decks, like that Miner Control Rocket Cycle deck. So you guys just saw our schedule. We are going to start with SB going up against Predator, and then we'll be moving on to Topic versus the Awesome. The winners of those 2 respective sets will play One Hive Hunter and then Inthrill. But let's hop into our action here. Game number 1 of Elimination Day. SB at the top of your screen from the UK, Predator at the bottom from Belarus.
And we're already seeing SB making changes from yesterday's strategy. Clearly, it did not work out. He went with all hog all day, and it was just a very tough thing to watch, because of the simple fact that if that hog gets a couple bad matchups and you're stuck with the same archetype, you're really going to struggle. I like the fact that he's showing us something different. The only thing is you are playing this type of deck against someone that's really good with it.
Yeah, that is really true. This was Predator's bread and butter. It's the deck that, or the deck construct or archetype that got him through our group stage. He swapped out, you know, the Valkyrie for the Knight, the Bomb Tower for the Tesla, but he was just basically rocking Miner plus Wall Breakers the entire day. So we'll see if that's exactly what SB is going to do here, and we'll see how Predator wants to respond, as it looks like he could be going to something looking like RG.
Yeah, it does seem like it's going to be RG. Obviously, like we've mentioned before, the best way to tell if you're going up against RG or that Mega Knight Graveyard type of thing is the Mega Knight Graveyard will usually have an E-Wiz instead of that Mother Witch, or a Hunter instead of the Dark Prince, something along those lines. I know the rest of it is pretty similar, but just so that people are able to recognize it quicker when they play, I think that's a good tell on what they're going to be using.
Yeah, MK Graveyard has been really successful here in the international finals. We'll see if someone else wants to play that today, as yesterday we only really saw, I believe, just one competitor rocking the MK Graveyard. So here we go, getting to overtime, or excuse me, into double elixir. About a minute left to go, and SB gives out the well played. 2287 to 2522 are the 2 lowest towers on the board.
Yeah, and that was a really nice King Tower activation there by Predator, knowing exactly the placement and timing, because the timing is just as important as the placement in that type of activation. If the Fisherman moves up even a little bit, the Valk will not activate anymore. And when you're playing against something like Wall Breakers and Miner, King Tower activations really do mean a lot.
Absolutely, which is why we saw Predator really working for that King Tower activation. It does pay off. We'll see how much that actually pays off throughout the rest of this game. 25 seconds remain here in regulation as a Lightning comes down. Lightning is everywhere in the meta, whether you're playing with champions or not. It is so great taking those buildings off the board. Of course, all those support units.
Yeah, and that was so smart out of SB there. He played the bats as a bait into the Mother Witch, because every single time he's played the bats, you've seen the Mother Witch out of Predator come at the bridge, and then he predicted that Mother Witch with the Valk in front of them, tanked for those bats, took out the Mother Witch. It was a very, very smart play and a beautiful in-game adjustment as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say those heads-up adjustments are so very important to make. Now we see one wall breaker connecting along with that fireball getting in. Miner still on the tower, and now Predator down by a mile. SB has more than enough elixir to defend here. He goes Valkyrie plus bats up high, and he can get down his Tesla if he needs to, but I don't think he will. He's going to take the shot.
Yeah, you take the shot there just because you don't even want to give him lightning value. Make that card get stuck in his cycle. Do not give him an out with it. I think it is a lot smarter.
And it looks like we have some technical issues there. The game just dropped out, unfortunately. So, well, it was going really well for SB, and we were kind of complimenting what he was doing. Maybe we're going to hop right back in. No, doesn't look like it. I'm not exactly sure what's happening here. The joys of broadcasting online. So I guess, well, Eric, you know, you and I know Clash Royale enough to at least talk about the things that we did see here. What are your thoughts on some of the stuff that happened, and now it looks like we're just replaying the game?
Yeah, well, I'm not really going to touch on what we're seeing here in that sense, but it all really came down to that in-game adjustment that we saw, right? We saw the same kind of defenses out of Predator throughout the game, and SB really, it wasn't the fact that he wasn't adjusting early on. He was just figuring out how many times he was going to get the same defense, and once he saw that it wasn't changing, that was the time to bait. He baited out with the bats, then the Valk, and then you saw him start cycling a lot quicker, got the cage out of cycle himself, and was able to get a wall breaker to connect. I think that's what put Predator on the back foot. It wasn't really the fact that the matchup base or anything like that.
And it does look like SB did win that first game, which we kind of saw coming as that game started to progress, right? The thing that you were talking about, those mid-game adjustments, and that's the thing that you have to do with decks like Miner Wall Breakers, right? You're obviously going to run into an opponent that has counters, right? They probably will have Mother Witch. They probably will have Log. They probably will have a building. So how do you play through that? How do you play around it? We saw SB doing just that. A lot of times, those newer players or less experienced players will start to get disheartened when they run into the same defense a couple times. You're like, I just can't break through this. Well, you have to make something out of nothing like SB did. Bait out Mother Witches, protect with Valkyries, get those full sends on the left side like you saw there when you know your opponent is low in elixir, they don't have the building and cycle. And SB did a really, really great job adjusting there and beating someone who is kind of a master of playing with Miner Wall Breakers in Predator.
Absolutely. He did everything that he had to do when you're playing a Miner deck in competitive play. Obviously, when you're not playing competitive play, you can play it a little more freely. You're not playing the Predator type of players, but this time around, I didn't see one single time in the whole matchup where Spear Goblins were actually given into Hoggies, right? He never gave that Mother Witch value other than the one time with the bats. And as soon as he saw that he messed that up, Fireball immediately, not taking any chances. And even then, when he realized, okay, I'm going to let the RG hit once because it's better than letting that cycle of the lightning come in, get some extra tower damage. I'm going to force him to be stuck with that card in his cycle and basically only be able to cycle 3 cards at a time instead of 4.
And when you're playing a deck like that with the bats, with the Spear Goblins, with the Wall Breakers, Mother Witch is such a brutal card that can turn the game on a dime, because the biggest thing about the Mother Witch is once she starts spawning those piggies, it demands a response out of you. And the Valkyrie and the Tesla have very, very specific purposes in every single matchup with that deck, right? So you can't all of a sudden throw your Valkyrie out of cycle, throw your Tesla out of cycle, then you'll get punished by the RG. And then with Miners, every time you use a Miner defensively, yes, it can work out. Yes, it's a good panic button move, but then you sacrifice your offense for one full cycle. So SB doing great things in game number 1, a bit of a bounce back from what we saw yesterday. He did go far in his set, but he was not able to walk away with the W, and now starting off strong here. And I wonder if he's going back to Golem. We saw SB playing Golem, and he talked about it yesterday in our intro video. It was a struggle with him to play that Golem deck, but it looks like he might be going right back to it, Eric.
Yeah, the only two things that it can be, in my opinion, whenever you see Lumberjack, is either Golem or Balloon. The Mega Minion usually goes with the Golem, and the Cannon card definitely goes with the Golem as well. So I think you're 100% right on the fact that we will be seeing Golem here. But on the other end, so far, not so bad on those counters onto the troops that are in this Golem deck, right? The Dark Prince should be able to take care of the Cannon card. Most of the time, you have a Mega Minion that's high DPS, and you could counter their Mega Minion with as well. So overall, not that bad. The only trouble I see him having is if this Golem deck is actually a Lightning deck. If it is a Lightning deck, he is going to struggle big time in that double and triple elixir to defend.
So right now, SB not doing a whole lot defensively, just mitigating some of that damage from the Dark Prince with the Bar Barrel, now doubling down on the right-hand side. Lumberjack squeezes around to the opposite side. Predator can't like that, so a Mother Witch has to come down, does get the King Tower activation, but Lumberjack going to town on that tower. 804 remains, and that was some tough stuff for Predator, who is down in Elixir.
Yeah, he is in a very rough spot. That was a beautiful push. Understood that, you know what, this Dark Prince is not going to take tower from me. I'm not too worried. Let me continue to push as hard as I can right now, and then I'll worry about my defense. Even then, letting the Fisherman go, he knows he's up on Elixir, probably going to Golem up again in front of this Cannon card at some point. He will have enough Elixir. It just depends on how aggressive he wants to get.
Maybe a high Golem here to pull the Knight. No, decides to play defense here. This is the double dragon deck with NATO, so being able to keep that RG stunned and at bay is SB, who uses the NATO early on and then has to double down here defensively with that Mega Minion, but takes a lot of damage, only ahead by just a little bit now. Predator coming back at this.
I think I would have loved to see him just go on offense there. It didn't seem like he had any great answers. The Cannon card was out of cycle, and you were going to take some damage regardless. But at this point, the only thing that really scares me for him is not actually being able to take down the tower. We've seen it so many times with these heavy decks, right? You get it down to 500, 600, and then you lose the game because you have 300 left or 200 left, and you were never able to get back onto that tower.
And SB kind of spending way too much here to try to get a little bit of offense, a little bit of damage here on that left-hand side. And I agree, Eric. I think we both kind of felt it in that moment, whether it was a Golem right in front of the Cannon cart, or like I was saying, which maybe would have actually been the wrong move, but a high Golem to kite that Dark Prince away. Either way, we were both looking for SB to get back on offense in that moment. He didn't. He doubles down on his defense, and we all know how that is. Golem late game, going against RG, you don't have a building. He found himself in a very, very tough spot. And once again, this Golem deck has been a bit of a struggle for SB. Obviously, earlier in the group stage, he was able to play through 3 decks, and you had to win with all 3, and that's how he got here. I wonder if now he decides to shelve this for the rest of this set, or maybe bring it out later on and try something else out he has.
I think I would first try to get my second win on the board. You want to secure that second win before trying again, because I've said this multiple times. I am not a fan of decks with no big spell. It doesn't matter if it's Golem, Log Bait, Miner, I don't care what it is. I am just not a fan because you can never close out the game. You have to make it back to tower. And if he has something like this deck where you have Fisherman and you could always pull that away, you're in a very tough spot. Yes, we both wanted him to go on offense, but even if he went on offense, he wasn't guaranteed to actually do any damage. That Fisherman was going to pull it to either King Tower or the other lane, and then all he had to do was really defend that Lumberjack, right? And you have Fireball and you have all of that. So if I'm SB, secure that second game win before I even attempt to go back at it.
And the other thing is, with that NATO, obviously it is a great card to use defensively, pulling troops together, pulling the RG away from the Princess Tower. But with this double dragon deck, the idea of it is to get the baby and the Electro Dragon working in the same area, and then NATO units together to take them off the board, I believe. And so, you know, you talk about that being able to happen, and SB was never really in a position where he had 2 dragons going in one lane, other than when he had him without a Golem.
Exactly that. And those no Golem pushes, I also am really not a fan of. I think they rarely ever work, and you give up all your elixir plus your full cycle push, and that deck with no building is very bad defensively, especially against something like RG. So just, if he is going to use it, has to be a little bit more careful on the way that he's pushing and defending. It's okay to lose a tower with Golem as long as you take one yourself.
So it looks like SB probably going Royal Hogs here. Usually the Hunter means Royal Hogs when you see Mortar out as well. I mean, it could be something else, but that's what it at least looks like here. And Predator going back to his bread and butter. in Minor Wall Breakers. We're all evened up here going into game number 3 of our first best of 5. This is an elimination game. One of these guys is going to stay alive. One of their run ends with a paycheck and a short stop here at the end of this best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, any run that ends with a paycheck is good enough, you know, like, but you want to go for the big paycheck. No one wants the smaller end of it. I really think this is a turning point, not only in this match, like obviously you want to get that second win in, but both of these players playing very good decks, very I guess solid meta decks that they should be able to win with. And if you do lose this matchup, I think it hurts your confidence a little bit.
I agree. I think this is kind of the outplay deck, as Rich Slayton usually likes to talk about, giving yourself one of those decks in your lineup that is really strong and firm in the meta, that is always strong against any matchup, that you can always outplay your way out of. Obviously, you'll run into 100-0 sometimes, but there's still the potential to do that, and both of these decks have that in spades. We're just going to see who's able to capitalize on it more. And right now, in single elixir, Predator should be ahead by probably a little bit more than he is right now, considering how much heavier SB's deck's win condition is, but still ahead by about 100.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me here, well, I guess I'm not too worried about what I was going to say anymore, but I was going to say always holding that fireball, right? If you're always holding that fireball, you really just completely destroy any push that's going to come in from the other lane. All you have to do is tank for that mortar and then just hold that log fireball for those hoggies, and that's it. He will not be pushing with a hunter. He's not going to push with the knight. You really don't have anything else to worry about. The bad thing is, if you do cycle that fireball and you get caught off guard with a nice hoggies push, you don't really have anything else.
The Predator continuing to use that fireball on the cannon carts and the log to give himself chip damage and make sure that cannon cart comes off of its wheels. But SB has been getting a decent amount of mortar chip damage with that shot, that Kobe shot going over the defensive troops of Predator. And now we see a late night, which means one connection there on that left-hand side, and SB's towers are very close to even. Predator ahead by about 200 still.
Yeah, he's ahead, but it is, in my opinion, getting harder to defend as time goes on for him. It seems like every push is closer to actually getting damaged. We saw that cannon cart really get just about a half a tile away from connecting onto the tower. That fireball saves him a nice delivery there. And he does need to be a little bit more, I guess, proactive on the catching miners and the wall breakers. It seems like every time he's just 1 or 2 seconds late.
Yeah, I would like to see SB play just maybe a little bit more aggressive in general, offensively and defensively, as that miner goes to the back right side of the tower, does soak up that mortar shot, and SB decides to ignore it as he sends in this Royal Hogs push. Cannon cart plus a hog and some spear goblins on that left-hand side should get some decent damage in, but still nowhere near his opponent, who's starting to create a larger and larger gap. And you see SB tilting his head there, knowing he got caught out of cycle.
Yeah, he wasn't hovering the delivery. He put the hunter in the wrong lane, thinking it was going to go to the right, and that's a heads-up play from Predator. That's how you know he is a master of this type of deck. He set off that miner knowing that SB was going to think it was going to go on the tower with 900 and not 1,500, and he completely caught him off. He took the bait, he fell for it, and Predator takes game number 2.
And there you go. That fireball comes in and takes the tower with 205 HP. These level 11 cards, I'm still getting used to it. I was like, oh, it's just a log fireball away. Fireball comes in, takes the tower down, and SB now goes down 2-1 against Predator, where SB started his set really strong, playing minor wall breakers. He goes to that golem deck, and honestly, I don't think he really even played that golem deck that poorly, or I don't know if he would have been able to win that or not. But like you were talking about confidence-wise, you were speaking more on this game than that game, Eric. And now I think it kind of compounds. I think that after such a good win in game number 1, he comes out with that golem deck in game number 2, and he's struggled with it the entire time that he's run it. For some reason, he does love to play it, which I'm not going to fault him on that, but he has struggled to find success with it. That kind of snowballs into a game number 3. He's lost 2 in a row, and that game number 3, like you were saying, is all about that outplay ability with that strong deck. SB needs a big bounce back right now.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if Predator does have another one of these decks, which he's really good with, and he can go ahead and use another minor wall breakers, that puts SB in a terrible position, because even though he does have golem, that golem deck has no big spell, so you cannot get that Tesla off the board. You can't really maneuver your way around it, and it makes it a lot more difficult to actually get the big pushes in. As people that play mortar and minor wall breakers, the biggest difficulty in defending the golem is not stopping the troops. It's when you get into that double and triple elixir and that lightning comes in and wipes everything out, and then you're stuck with only your squishy troops. That doesn't come into play with this golem deck.
I would like to see SB maybe go to that MK graveyard deck that we saw yesterday. We know it was strong. It's a little bit different from what he normally plays. And the reason that I say that more specifically is Predator is a guy that basically always runs Fireball Log. So the potential of never running into poison against one competitor is at least somewhat appetizing to run graveyard, right? If you know they're never going to have poison, it's at least something that you can get a little bit more damage on tower, at least have a little bit of an edge spell value wise. But there's still so much out there. Just because he doesn't have poison, you can still defend well with, you know, like you said, a mortar deck that Predator might run out with here in game number 4. I wouldn't be surprised there. That way he'd be going to different archetypes like we saw yesterday, and he's not putting it all on control, and control was kind of where he struggled a bit, especially against the opponent that he ran into yesterday in Hugo.
Yes, and I would love to see that MK graveyard, especially. Oh, that was bad timing already for SB. That was completely not a prediction for anyone watching. That was just straight luck. They were both cycling. It worked out in his favor, and mortar. Oh god.
Yep, mortar right into RG. So SB not in the best spot here. That cannon cart is somewhat of a saving grace when you talk about being able to come off of its wheels and have 2 buildings along with that hunter. So SB gonna go right back to what we just saw, and Predator gonna go maybe to what we saw earlier on.
I mean, he definitely does have answers, right? With that, the mortar, the hunter, the cannon cart. He has a lot of high DPS, one of the best buildings against the RG if it is played further back because of how tanky it is, and it also helps with the troops behind it. So he's not in a terrible position, but we need to figure out what Predator is going to do. If Predator is able to mount one of those double RG pushes, I do find it to be a little bit difficult here for SB. A beautiful cage there, and he's going to have to drop something else, and there it is.
Yeah, I think this is going to kind of be the name of the game for SB here in single elixir, is make sure that he's staying aggressive and on offense, get those mortars down as much as he can. That way Predator is not as able to start cycling RGs in the back or start building the RG pushes that he wants. But still, even here, you see what's the results of that idea are, and it's a lot. 5 looks like RG shots come in. 15, 17 remains. And Eric, you pointed this out yesterday. This isn't the same as it used to be. That's 1,500 damage missing from the tower, not 1,000.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and this cannon cart actually connecting onto tower. I was not expecting that at all, and it brings SB back into the game. Before that cannon cart connection, it seemed like SB was already going to be losing this game by a mile, but that really does, I guess, give you a little bit breathing room. Mortars forced out here as well from those hoggies, and now you can RG calmly in the back because you know there's no offense coming.
SB doing the correct thing and getting that cannon cart down so it can work in the same lane. Predator with that lightning, though, takes it off the wheels behind the tower, and now SB needs to cycle furiously back around to another mortar. Probably a fishboy going to come up here and pull that knight away, and yes, it does.
Yeah, and the good thing for him is no lightning right now, but another RG could definitely be coming down here if that mortar does go down, and there it is, RG number 2. And the only bad thing about this RG, in my opinion, is the fact that he doesn't have login cycle. If he had login cycle, that was a guaranteed tower down. But oh, wow, he's actually able to get that hit.
Yeah, SB just had nothing for that RG, nothing to knock it back. He's got the delivery instead of the log. He doesn't have the mortar back around in cycle, and that's going to do it for the run of SB here in Gamestars League. He will walk away with a little bit of a check, and once again making it to the international finals, although having a little bit less success this time around than the previous season. We are so happy that SB has been competing here in Gamestars, and we wish him the best as his run comes to an end at the hands of Predator here. RG doing work for him, along with some minor wall breakers earlier in the set, and there you go, just no elixir in the tank to deal with that RG. Would have been nice to see him hold those spear goblins and maybe get that mortar down to push that RG away, but it was just tough stuff for him.
Yeah, and I mean, there is no poison, I guess, in any of the Predator decks. So if he did have that Mega Knight graveyard, it would have been a great call to have there. There are no good graveyard counters in general. You're always going to fireball that Mother Witch. So a little bit of unfortunate. And I think the big difference with SB from last time around to this time around was matchups. We saw SB get countless amounts of 100, 0, 90, 10, 80, 20 matchups in GameStar Season 1, but it seems like everyone else is adapting accordingly as well, and it was a little bit more of a struggle for him.
Yeah, you know, and to give credit over to Predator and maybe how hard it might be to analyze against him, he did run so many different win conditions over his run of the last 2 days. We saw Royal Giant Lightning, we saw Royal Giant Fireball, minor wall breakers with Valkyrie, we saw minor control with Rocket, we saw so much stuff out of him, we saw Lava Hound. So, you know, good job on Predator to make his opponents continue to keep guessing, and that's something that all the analysts are going to have to do moving forward, especially here in this next set. We do have our next matchup on the books here. One Hive Hunter and Predator will be facing off in the next level of our elimination bracket. But first, we have to go over to Russia and Egypt. Topic and Awesome. Eric, this was really shocking. Topic was a dominant player in the group stage. Both of them got swept yesterday. They had very, very little success. They were kind of overextending themselves. They weren't playing the decks the way they were supposed to. It wasn't that they came out with bad decks. It was just not the play style that you have to have here at this level.
I think it was nerves, man. You saw these two players that are great players completely shift the way they played from that group stage to the international final stage, and it does get you. It is match number 1. The nerves are kicking in, and on top of that, let's be honest, they went against players that are very, very tough, that have a lot of experience, not only in Clash, but already in the GameStars League. So it was kind of like you're playing on their home turf, and you had to, you know, really get accustomed to it. And I think we're going to see a lot better gameplay out of both of them today.
I absolutely hope so. And before we hop into our next best of 5 between Topic and Awesome, let's take a quick look at this video with some tips and tricks for you guys.
Hey guys, Dimas with you.
Witam wszystkich, jestem Intriel i pokażę wam dzisiaj kilka sztuczek i porad w Clash Royale.
So let's see what we have got for you.
Ja postanowiłem wybrać aktywację Kinga tornadem przeciwko Elektrowizardowi. Jak widzicie, na przykład z jakiegoś puszu idzie samotny Elektrowizard i macie tornado na ręce, to możecie właśnie w taki sposób je użyć i aktywujecie Kinga.
This move is very useful against Griver. Also be sure that Electrovizard has more than half of his health when you want to make it. We believe those tips tricks will help you to improve your performance.
To wszystko na dzisiaj, widzimy się na arenie.
The international group stage made it possible to determine the lucky ones worthy of the next stage. From the 3rd to the 5th of November, the best 8 players of the tournament will compete for a stunning $30,000 prize pool. Join the stream of the Clash Royale Gamestars Season 2 International Finals and find out who will become the champion.
So little tips and tricks there from Thrill getting that King Tower activated with the Electro Wizard. They definitely make it look easier than it is, but there you go. That's exactly how you play it, when you play it, the HP of the Electro Wizard and the tile to drop it on. So thank you guys so much for those tips and tricks. We'll have a few more of those for you as we finish out our run here at GameStars. Back to the matter at hand, Topic versus the Awesome. Yesterday they struggled a lot. It was the Awesome struggling against Demus, and it was Topic who could not take down One Hive Hunter. And Eric, you were saying the biggest thing that you thought stood out, or those sets specifically that stood out, wasn't the decks, it wasn't anything really other than maybe just nerves.
Yeah, it definitely did feel like nerves, because we've seen these players before and they are way better than what they played yesterday. I think today they have to come in with a completely different mindset of, I have nothing to lose at this point, I gotta just play my game. This is still Clash Royale, let me go out there and enjoy it. And I think this specific set is where we should see the least amount of nerves out of both of them, right? You're playing the other person that got 3-0'd, so you should feel confident in your abilities, and then you should see them, whoever does move forward, really use that confidence to continue that momentum, because they still have to play another match today.
So Topic yesterday played a lot of Miner Control. It was Miner Rocket Cycle with Log, Dark Prince, and Delivery. He played that twice, losing twice to One Hive Hunter. And then the other time was a very fast cycle, of course, Goblin Drill Fireball deck with Bomber, Log, Tesla, and Valkyrie. Not able to really lock things down in terms of fast cycle. And when you're playing against better players as the game moves farther along into double and into triple elixir, those decks become exponentially harder to capitalize with. I'd like to see Topic play something maybe just a little bit heavier or give another win condition to that Miner, right? Instead of it just being Miner plus Rocket, maybe it's Miner plus Poison and a spawner, maybe it's Miner Wall Breakers, whatever it is. I think Topic needs to just give himself a little bit more support.
I think everyone that did use that Miner Rocket deck yesterday lost with it, right? I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, I agree with you. It just, in my opinion, doesn't really make sense, especially in the current meta. You're not going to get a lot of Rocket value out of anything. And if you're going to play something with Rocket, I think the best option is always Logbait, because you get a lot more damage per chip. Here, the Miner could get, even if it gets picked up halfway, it just doesn't give you enough. A beautiful zap there out of Awesome to make sure that Bandit wasn't going to dash.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I thought there was no way that Bandit wasn't going to get on tower. A perfectly timed zap there from Awesome, who yesterday we saw him struggle as well. He went a lot heavier. We got a 4 elixir cycle Ram Rider P.E.K.K.A deck with Earthquake and Arrows. He ran that twice in a row and wasn't able to succeed against Demus's kind of deck that he's known for, and then also ran into that Prince Mortar deck that you were a big fan of yesterday from Demus. And then in the third game from Awesome, he went to Miner Lava with Guards and Electro Dragon and was just not able to pick up one game off of Demus. And so today we'll see how much he's going to change things up. Topic already going much heavier.
Yeah, Topic is going very heavy here with this deck. That Miner there, actually very bad luck in the fact that it just pushed the P.E.K.K.A out of range. So the Infernal Dragon had to completely reset. Obviously, the damage wasn't on the left. It was completely on that right with that Bandit. And he's getting overwhelmed right now.
Yeah, absolutely is getting overwhelmed. You see basically even in Elixir, but a Mother Witch is on the board. So arrows come down, which give Topic a 3 Elixir lead here as he ticks to 10. Arrows are cycled on the right-hand side. 1258 to 2 very healthy towers here as we get into double Elixir time. And Awesome cycles a Prince in the back. No MK yet out of him.
Yeah, and this is a very heavy deck with the normal Prince, right? The Dark Prince is still an elixir less. It also gives you a little bit more versatility in your deck. I think this is one of those deck choices that if it works, you completely destroy in the match. You have a full matchup. But if it doesn't work, it's very hard to outplay out of it because the Infernal Dragon is very matchup specific. So are the Zappies, and so is the Prince. So when you have 3 cards that are so matchup specific, it is very difficult to actually deal with.
And there is his calling card in the Mega Knight, Awesome's favorite card in the game. Him and Demus had a bit of an MK showdown yesterday, that both being their favorite cards in the game. And finally, we see the MK come down, but not doing a whole lot for Awesome at the moment as he does run into a P.E.K.K.A.
I'm trying to figure out a way back into this game for him, and I really don't see it. The only way I can see it happening is if by some odd choice Topic decides to go overly aggressive here and just make one bad mistake. But if he just holds everything for that defense, he should be okay. I also don't really understand that P.E.K.K.A play in the back right when you should just be defending, not trying to take down the tower. Now you have to deal with the Mega Knight. You have to deal with the Prince. A beautiful set of arrows just to take that shield off, and a beautiful lightning combo to bring it back, I guess, to counter the arrows.
Yeah, absolutely. That lightning was really heads up there for Topic, and I agree with you, Eric. It does seem really tough for Awesome MK to come back in this game, but he is doing a good job of it, right? With only 80 seconds remaining, he's got that gap a lot smaller, 16-12 to 12-05, but now this Ram Rider comes down the lane. MK last second should come in. There it is.
Yeah, last second, but he still does get a hit. Yeah, Ewiz plus Piggy on the left. The right still has the Ram Rider connecting, as well as that little Hoggy from the Mother Witch. So just damage on all sides, and that lead that he was cutting down earlier just got all that much bigger again right now.
Yeah, completely evaporated, disintegrated was that lead. Or at least the gain that Awesome was starting to create there. Another nice lightning comes in from Topic. It's that Prince and the MK. Another MK comes down here. 5:69 with 38 seconds remaining. Awesome has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think he has too much work to do at this point. That Hoggy there gonna distract a little bit. It's actually pushing the E-Wiz. The E-Wiz is protected by it, and another really nice lightning. I think Topic is doing a really good job here of getting good lightning value. That's positioning him very well in the game.
And that Ram Rider will connect there. And yeah, that's one of those things when you run into someone who has their lightning perfectly in sync with your defenses and the cycles are basically the same. It's become so disheartening to try to defend. You want to try to put your units all over the board so that they're far enough apart, but lightning has such a big range. It still somehow connects to all of them. And Topic took that value every single time. And Eric, when you look at the deck at the bottom of your screen, you know, P.E.K.K.A. minor control has been something we've seen for a while, but it's usually with poison and it's usually with some other baity cards. What did you think of this deck at the bottom of our screen? It didn't seem like it really had a whole lot of synergy.
I just don't understand where it wins, right? Like, what matchup are you looking for? Because it looks like a very specific deck, like you're searching for something, but I can't quite pinpoint what you're searching for. The Prince doesn't really tie in with the Zappies. The Fireball doesn't tie in really with anything because you're not in a rush to get anything off the board. And then that Inferno Dragon gives you no versatility for splash either. So really you're saying the only way I can get my Prince on offense is if I put it behind the Mega Knight because I have no other splash damage in my whole deck. And to not be able to support the Prince doesn't really make all that much sense to me. Very odd deck choice, and I just don't see it really working against 90% of the current meta decks.
Yeah, well, what's so fascinating is when you look at this deck, the MK, the Prince, the Minor, the Zappies, the Inferno, and then a triple spell, Arrows, Zap, and Fireball, you kind of think, oh, well, this matches up really good against Royal Hogs, and this could actually do pretty well against Minor Wall Breakers, and this could actually do really good against Lava Hound. But he didn't run into any of those things, unfortunately. It looked like it was a deck that was made to kind of play against what's strong in the meta and then just win off of minor chip and spell damage. But the problem is his opponent brought a different deck that does have great synergy, and his deck was just kind of caught looking.
I think you always take too big of a risk when you're running something that off meta, unless your name is Bag. If your name is Bag, I won't question it. I will just sit there and enjoy the game. But other than that, I think you have to just trust your abilities and run something you're comfortable with. Go to your playstyle. You lost 3-0. I think the most important thing is not the overall set right now. You should go in and say, let me get one game on the board, and then I'll figure everything else out.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make. Just maybe going back to your creature comforts here early on in this set, as every single game gets exponentially more important, and Awesome misses the kite there, at least the targeting there on the Flying Machine. Flying Machine does connect for the first little bit of blood drawn. It is Topic who goes on the board first, but Awesome responds really nicely here with this push, and that is a great set of arrows as well, recognizing that that Goblin Brawler was going to get taken off the board, but now we'll see if he needs that elixir that was spent defensively.
Yeah, he is going to get caught with no arrows here, and he would have loved to have, at least for one set of these recruits, when something comes in behind them, especially even with those Zappies, right? You get in arrows onto everything, your Ghost then takes care of the Zappies. But I want to see if he has another spell here, does Awesome, just to take care of that Flying Machine late game. Right now, it's not going to be a worry, but late game, it could be a very big problem.
And right now, the Piggies have been doing work for Awesome MK, but he just completely ignores the Zappy on the right-hand side. Luckily, it goes off the board in time, but Royal Hogs right behind, and playing for a tower trade this early in the game does not seem like the move, especially when you talk about what he's running up against with that dual lane pressure, with the ability to kind of control the entire board with the recruits, with a high Flying Machine. Awesome maybe not playing the best macro game right now.
Yeah, and wow, he actually misses the timing there on the cage. I'm not sure if it was a miss because he was so low on elixir that it might have just not got put down in time. But that is a big break there for Awesome, because without that tower going down and that cage always being in cycle for that Ram Rider, your recruits, just like you were saying, he has a lot of great answers. So that kind of, in my opinion, that bailed him out a little bit from the bad decision making of going for that tower trade early on.
Yeah, we've seen that before, Eric, where someone decides to sacrifice a tower early on, or they get a lot of damage early on, they just can't make up for it at the end, or someone, you know, goes, all right, I'm going to let that tower fall so that I can build a bigger push, and then they end up regretting letting that tower fall. We'll see if that kind of comes back and gets Topic here, as he did have some good HP remaining on that tower, but it was just an errant fisherman that did escape as this P.E.K.K.A. runs into an ocean of red.
Yeah, he sure does, and it is so frustrating playing P.E.K.K.A and running into something like Zappies and recruits, because you know you're never going to get anywhere near that tower. And this P.E.K.K.A is actually getting kited over to the right as the Hoggies come in. A beautiful fireball there as well. And the flying machine, this is what I was talking about. It's gonna do work late game. You don't have to worry about it early and mid game, but late game is where it really brings you a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly what you were talking about, because we saw the Ewiz come down in defense, but that Ewiz had to go to the Royal Hogs instead of the Flying Machine, which is what we saw that Ewiz kind of targeting earlier in single elixir or in that 2-tower game. So now Awesome in a lot of trouble. 931 remains on that bottom left-hand side, and Topic, if he's doing this correctly, exactly, he's just going to keep resetting in the back, trying to get those flying machines in the pocket, just make Awesome overspend so that Awesome can't get back on offense. Topic is very happy for this game to just time out with a 700 HP advantage.
Yeah, and that Ram Rider is also a little bit odd in the sense that I'm not sure, is he trying to go for a 3-crown here with 3,100 left on that tower and only a minute left in the game? It seems like a very odd choice. He went Ram Rider there, not really sure why. Maybe it was a misclick, but it doesn't really matter right now. And Topic seems like he's doing awesome. The same thing that was done to him yesterday. He's up very convincingly in a 2-0 lead, and at this point, Awesome, bring only your comfort deck. Whichever one you feel the best with, you have to play that. You need a game right now.
Yeah, I could not agree more here. And, you know, Eric, in game number 1, the conversation was kind of centered or focused around Awesome's deck choice, right? It seemed a little weird. It was kind of like minor P.E.K.K.A control, but without poison, and it was a little heavier than you'd think, and it probably matched up against certain archetypes out in meta well. Game number 2, you know, it felt like the biggest thing here was the misunderstanding of the macro for Awesome MK. That tower trade early on, he decides to just let the Zappies go to town on his tower. Then the Royal Hogs come in. He decides to completely ignore it, to send in a Ram Rider of his own. He does kind of get a blessing from Topic or the Clash Royale gods with that Fisherman connecting, but he kept putting himself in a bad position moving forward.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's a mental thing as well, right? You go down 0-3 yesterday, you start off the day, you go down 0-1, you go again, and now you lost the second game, or you're not even when you have lost the second game, but you start losing, you start entering this little panic cycle in your head. I'm gonna go down 0-2, I'm gonna go down 0-2, and then you catch yourself off with your own mistakes. That Ram Rider going for the 3-crown, no, he would never do that in a scenario where he's playing his ladder game, right? It's not something he does. But it seems like he's in his own head right now, and it's normal. If you've lost 5 out of 5 games you've played, it's gonna take a toll on you mentally. We are humans, but he needs to go to that comfort deck that really allows him to just play his game, get 1 win on the board, and then you might see a huge turnaround. We've seen it in a lot of players where they go on a terrible losing streak, they get 1 game and they make it all the way to finals.
And luckily for Awesome, he gets to reset after this set if he is able to reverse sweep this. But that is a lot to ask for right now, considering what you talked about, Eric. 0-5 over yesterday and today, and some of it's been deck, but a lot of it has been play style, and Awesome just needs to slow down. I agree. I think he needs to go strictly to comfort. Play exactly what you want. Play your only deck. If you're Viper, play your Hog Exunato. If you're Demas, play that deck we saw yesterday. Your no big spell, you know, Wall Breakers, Bandit, MK deck. Play that. Whatever it is for Awesome MK, that's what needs to come out right now here in game number 3 to avoid back-to-back sweeps and an elimination here from Gamestars Season 2 International Finals. And he starts with a minor once again. Let's hope that he's changed up what this deck is from the first one that we saw out.
Yeah, I really hope it is not deck number 1, and it is.
Yeah, definitely looking like it here, and I can't imagine that he has 2 decks in his arsenal that run Prince and Minor.
Yeah, it's just...
And I can't imagine that he's not running NK in this game. Go ahead.
I'm very curious to see how it matches up here as well. The Zap there not really going to do much. That Prince was too low on damage anyway, and that does confirm that it is the same deck once those Zappies do come in. Obviously, there was a slight chance of Minor and Prince being a different deck, but yeah, I don't know how he's going to get this to work, especially if this is a double spawner deck. It's going to be trouble for him. He has nothing there for the Prince will never make it anywhere.
So potential for double spawner here. There's also potential for, there was a deck circulating for a while that was another minor poison control with MK and with Goblin Hut. And we'll see if that's what Topic has here, if he is going to go to that double spawner. A lot of times double spawner doesn't run minor, even though minor seems like it could be good to throw on the back end when those Goblin Huts pop. And No surprises here out of Awesome, at least out of the cards that are shown, and big question mark on the last two here from Topic.
Yeah, and this is a very, very, oh,
Wow.
he missed it on the, oh, that is very, very bad. That is very rough. And on the Awesome side, this is the type of thing you need, right? You need a mistake from your opponent to really get you motivated, excited. Okay, I can do this. A nice miner there from him. Does not get the tank, but a beautiful zap reset, and that's GG. Well played.
Yeah, that was just an excellent opening for Awesome there, and you see him picking up a win with this deck that you and I were giving a very, very hard time to, but you know what? He made it work there. You saw the miss on the MK drop by Topic. You get an MK on your tower. The great late miner with the zap retarget gets that Inferno to sizzle it away, and now Topic just sits back. He decides to hang it up for this game for the next 45 seconds. Going to think about what he needs to do to reset, and Awesome is back on the board, or I should say on the board here for our international finals. Is there going to be a reverse sweep on the horizon? Only one way to find out.
Yeah, there definitely could be. It really only takes one game. I've seen it so many times in competitive play. You see someone just have the worst of streaks, and whenever they're actually a good player, it takes that one game, you get your confidence back, and then you just run with it. And he's had a beautiful run in Gamestars alone, and also in ladder in career. So you know he definitely has the skill. If he can combine the skill with the mind, he can make a run for this reverse sweep and a run for later in the day as well.
Yeah, talking about Awesome and his resume, he's the 76th ranked player in the world. He's got an 8.5k personal best. He was the MEO, the Red Bull MEO Opens champion out of Egypt. He's a guy that has a lot of experience, a lot of accolades to his name, and like I said, he's 76th in the world on that CRL leaderboard. He knows what he's doing out there. He just needs to do all the things that you talked about as a coach, Eric, which is play the game that you play on ladder. Don't go overextending yourself. Don't go reaching because you're feeling desperate. That's one thing that we saw a lot out of these guys later in their sets, later in their games, was desperation plays, because they're feeling the pressure of that set coming to a close. Now you have a new life, new set given to you, in the sense that, look, this is a brand new essential best of 3 if you want with Topic. You've got game number 1. You just need to close things out here, but back up against the wall. And I don't know, that deck out of Topic, Eric, I think those last cards, or that last card must have been a poison or a fireball, I believe. I'm not sure if we saw it or not, but we did see the MK come down with the spawner and with the miner. Kind of a new look for us here.
Yeah, definitely a new look, and I guess both of these players are just trying to play a little bit of that surprise factor. Maybe this is the 4th deck coming into play. The fact that you can have that little bit of an odd deck. The only worrying thing for me was Awesome was 1 game away from being eliminated, and he went back to it. I like surprise decks for either deck number 1 or when you're up in a set and you have a little bit of room to work. He risked it all, it paid off. But I think he was also a little bit fortunate with that Mega Knight not going down in time, not really playing into that zap as much as he should have. It doesn't matter, he got the win, but I'm curious to see if this is just deck number 4 for Topic, and he was going to go for it since he was up 2-0. He definitely had a room to try that surprise factor, and now he's going to go back to something more meta.
So here we go. Game number 4. Awesome MK picks up his first win here in the international finals, and he also maybe tells his cat to be quiet. I don't think it's his cat, but we'll just say it is for now.
Yeah, I saw the tail. Don't worry about it. It was definitely the cat. And I mean, he's got his headphones on, and he's still, when I got my headphones on, you could be blasting music 2 feet away from me, and I am just in another world. So maybe he's so hyper focused that any sound right now is just gonna distract him. And on the other end, it seems like Topic's going right back at it.
Yeah, it really does seem that way as a Lava Hound works its way down this left-hand lane. Goblins kind of piling up on that lava to create some nice DPS, a high-flying machine to take them off the board as that cannon cart works down the right-hand side. Let's see how Awesome wants to double down on this offense.
Yeah, and I think this matchup is way better for him than the last one. Those spear goblins, like you said, do end up combining for a lot of damage onto that lava. The zappies do slow everything down. He has a mega minion there for the flying machine, and now the Mega Knight comes in, and no cage is in cycle, if I'm not mistaken. He had already used the cage. The zappies are going to help take this out, and we're about to find out what spell it is. And
yeah, that is a beautiful set of arrows that come down on top of those guards. Skeleton Dragons have to come in to kind of stop the bleeding here, but a nice big uppercut early on here from Topic from that MK.
Yeah, and it's only gonna get more rough as it goes. Now that we know arrows are that spell of choice, that means the lava has to go through Mega Minion, Spear Goblins, Zappies, and arrows. I don't see a lot of damage coming in ever from any of those pushes.
Yeah, Awesome maybe needs to do a good job of baiting out those arrows with Guard's minor push somewhere else, if that's a potential, but that still is a big spend that could be easily cleaned up. It is 6 for what could be nothing. So we'll see what happens here on this next Lava Send.
Yeah, and here we go. Spear Goblin's gonna start compiling in the back. I do kind of like this Mega Knight. It is a little bit risky if you don't have the reset target directly onto that Inferno Dragon, because it's gonna go down, but you cannot give that fireball value. I'm not sure if he was thinking that maybe he only has arrows, but that was just such a positive elixir trade there from him. It was 4 for 8. Stops a full push. Zappies reset that as well, and he has full control of this match.
Yeah, Topic has been doing great spell work in game number 4 here, as we see another MK come down up high with a with a Mega Minion to get on top of that flying machine, and now Awesome has to go back on his heels to play defense here.
Yeah, and I think the Zappies on the left would here reset that Inferno Dragon. He's opting not to go with the arrows. He's saving those arrows for later. I don't mind it, but you're still gonna have to over defend here most likely. And a cannon cart, that is very, very expensive defense for just the guards and what was left of a defense.
So Cannon Cart not going to make its way across the bridge here, as we see Topic ticking to 10. Maybe he sets up for another MK in the back. He sets up for a miner up high here to maybe protect his next little Spear Goblin that spawns, and just trying to do what he can to get this flying machine off the board.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Obviously, this Mega Minion actually ends up targeting the Inferno Dragon somehow. I'm not too sure how that ended up happening, but he's gonna have to take this off the board really quickly here. The Inferno Dragon is on the Zappy. The Zappy's gonna go down, so a good play by him to get that miner in time, just to make sure that the Inferno Dragon doesn't actually lock onto tower.
Yeah, Topic just hanging on for dear life there.
Yeah.
Actually comes out relatively okay, considering all the things that were on the board, how close that Inferno was, and how much he had to spend right on top of his Princess Tower. 856 remains here to 1385. Awesome, really looking to try to turn this set around, and he has the lead to do it.
And I'm actually very surprised at how close he has gotten this. Like, it is very impressive. I think he has all the counters he needs to never allow Awesome to get onto tower, and Awesome is not backing down from this tough of a matchup.
And this is exactly what we were talking about, right, Eric? All you need is that one game to reset your confidence, and you can go back and play the way that you're supposed to. And that's exactly what Awesome is doing. He's playing through a tough matchup right now. Like you said, his opponent seems to have all the responses that he would need. That miner placed in a great spot, misses the leap of the MK, and takes for that cannon cart here. And looks like we are going to go to game number 5. And now all of a sudden, in a set that Topic was dominating, this MK miner deck is starting to give him a bit of trouble. Awesome is screamed his way back into this set. We're going to game number 5, all evened up.
And to be honest with you, if this deck does not beat Lava and you have Fireball, Spear Goblins, Mega Minion, Arrows, you probably should just leave it on the shelf for now. Use your 4th deck, because I don't see any better matchups.
Yeah, I mean, you saw even just pushing the issue on the ground early on. Topic was struggling there. We saw the MK pressure, the Zappies pressure, the cannon cart pressure, all that stuff. Topic kind of trying to play through that matchup, knowing that there's really only 3 ground responses in the entirety of Awesome's deck, and Awesome was still able to defend pretty well throughout. He did take some MK damage early on, but then it was all Awesome for the rest of that game. And I agree with you, man. I mean, I think that's about as good as it gets matchup-wise for Topic there, but he just could not seem to lock down his defenses.
It all really came down from that one fireball that he hit just the Skelly Dragons and the tower from his opponent there. You had no reason to do it. I think, yes, you want to start getting damage, but you saw how that was the massive push that ended up bringing so much damage to his tower. And it's because he no longer had that fireball. The flying machine had to be used. The Mega Minion had to be used on the flying machine, and then it could no longer help out on the Inferno Dragon. He had to use the miner as well onto the Inferno Dragon because no reset was available to him. If he would have just held that fireball, I think he would have been okay. He got a little bit greedy on how much damage he wanted to do with the miner, and ended up sending the miner with the fireball for the skeleton dragons, and it backfired big time.
I mean, there's times in matches where, you know, you have a card for their card throughout the entire game, right? That fireball should always be looking for a Mother Witch. It should always be looking for that flying machine, whatever it has. Now, obviously, as games kind of unfold, you might have to change things up, play a Mega Minion up high on the flying machine. But when you talk about what you're speaking on specifically, Eric, which is just sending in a miner and then supporting it with the fireball, that's a big time spend. That's a 7 elixir spend that does take skeleton dragons off the board, but then you find yourself completely hamstrung when you talk about defending against that flying machine, defending against that lava push. So something that Topic is going to have to lock down here going into game number 5. If you have a response for it, don't use it out of cycle, right? That flying machine is devastating.
Yeah, especially not to get greedy, you know, like if you need it at last minute for a defense, I understand that, but just to get some extra minor chip is not worth it at all. If it's a Mega Knight jumping, something of big significance in damage, then it's worth it. But to just add on maybe 200 damage more, you really put yourself in a terrible position. So you want to make sure that defense is priority, and then you just chip away with minor. In a deck like this, your priority is never to really get a lot of damage every push. You have those Spear Goblins, you have the defensive Mega Knights, you have a minor, and worst case scenario later on, you just go ahead and throw it down.
So hopefully Topic goes for something just a little bit heavier. It seemed like the heavier decks were better for him, but not with minor control, right? We saw that P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider deck that he played really well. We saw the Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits Flying Machine deck with the Zappies that was great. But now when he's gone back to minor kind of as his win condition, like we saw him do a lot yesterday, he has struggled. I'd love to see something completely different here in game number 5.
And I mean, oh God.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one way to start the match if you're running a Goblin Hut.
Yeah, so the Hut runs into the Earthquake. The Royal Ghost comes out for the Spear Goblins. Now the Miner has to come out defensively here for Topic, and already this is not a good spot for him to be in, all things considered. And it looks like he is going to be going back to this interesting Miner Goblin Hut construction.
I mean, he doesn't have a choice. He came with 2 of these decks clearly because this one has log, the other one had arrows. So it seems like at this point, it's his only choice to go with this deck construction, this deck archetype. And I don't know. I find it so risky that if you're going to double up on something, you double up on something like this is very risky play.
Yeah, so he goes with log this time instead of arrows, like you said. Maybe we'll see fireball again, but maybe he swapped it out for poison, which does work just a little bit better. That minor damage getting on tower, but still gonna have to clean up units on the board like that Mother Witch, and log isn't gonna do it.
Yeah, those
And
arrows
already
do
Topic
miss.
calls good game.
Yeah, those arrows do miss the Spear Goblins there, but he was just getting more chip damage on the board. A nice E-Wiz there to reset, and that is even worse for Topic, right? This deck having E-Wiz will always reset that miner and mitigate the damage, that chip damage that you're going to actually take onto your tower.
And this is what we were just speaking about. If you have the responses, that Earthquake should be used for the Goblin Hut 100% of the time. That E-Wiz should always be ready to go and in cycle to catch that miner. And of course, the P.E.K.K.A. is one of those things that we just want to make sure Awesome cycles correctly, and I like what he's doing here.
Yeah, he always just needs to be very patient with it. You see the cannon cart, that's a good sign that you should. Ooh, okay. I was a little bit scared that the P.E.K.K.A. wasn't going to get in front of it in time, but now the match is even. You have a healthy P.E.K.K.A. on the left. You're accompanying it with the Mother Witch to force out a poison, which he does there. Beautiful play, and if he could get this Fisherman to actually catch it, it would be even better. Just, oh no, the P.E.K.K.A. actually goes down, and now he's in trouble.
Wow, P.E.K.K.A. does come down just in time, but now an E-Wiz cycle to the left-hand side means a free miner to the right as Topic extends his lead by just a hair, but Awesome going back on the offensive here with the Ram Rider. Arrows as well to support the left side as this Goblin Hut comes down to drag in the attention of that Ram Rider.
Yeah, and this E was doing work for him in this matchup. I think right now that is the MVP of the match. The Fisherman obviously does not get caught there, but he does get it on the board, and that E-Wiz might bail him out yet again if he's able to get this retarget on the board. And thank God for that little E-Wiz, but it looks like Topic just had his break there, and I don't really know what led to it other than the Fisherman continuously putting him in bad situations, pulling that cannon card onto his side.
Yeah, Fisherman just doing him dirty, and he doesn't have the Royal Ghost there in time, and everything's kind of just too far away. That great heads-up miner from Topic does pull in, or does protect that cannon cart, which allows it to get on towers. So kind of making something out of nothing is the player from Russia at the top of your screen, who has a massive lead right now. 647 as a second P.E.K.K.A comes down. But I feel like this will be somewhat easily controlled as the MK leaps on that bottom left-hand tower.
Yeah, I'm not really sure on that play. I agree with you 100%. There was nothing that really proves that he can't defend two P.E.K.K.As, right? With those zappies, and even last-minute Hut would be able to get him enough defense there to where it's not a problem, and that was going to jump on tower all day, every day. And Awesome almost gets that reverse sweep, but falls in game number 3 to, in my opinion, his own Fisherman.
So close there on pulling off the reverse sweep, but the Fisherman plus the cannon cart combo, it's a really tough one, right? When you have Fisherman, your opponent has cannon cart, there's so many interactions that can go wrong, and there's so many ways that their opponent or your opponent can support that cannon cart, as we saw Topic do there with a really, really brilliant miner. Like you said, the EWIS kind of saves him from losing the tower in that moment, but a really great back and forth set between Topic and the Awesome. But Awesome is going to be eliminated along with SB, so they will be getting a little bit of a paycheck. And here is that great moment. Royal Ghost comes down late. EWIS is too far away. It's distracted by the miner. Does get to reset on the final sharp shot from that cannon cart. But 647 remains. And then right here, that MK is definitely going to leap onto that tower. And it goes goodbye. MK, a little bit of poetic justice there, getting taken out by his favorite card in the game.
And I mean, I'll give both of these players props in the sense that they definitely were not scared to run something off meta to try and surprise their opponents. They did both struggle early on with that surprise factor deck, and I think they might struggle a little bit more when they play against, you know, One Hive Hunter. I think it is a tougher matchup, and to get away with this type of deck is going to be very tough.
Yeah, One Hive did go 3-0 over Topic yesterday, and so that's something that I'm sure Topic is going to want to redeem and have to look out for as they get to this next level of our bracket. These are the decks that we just saw here, and, you know, picking up a win with this MK Miner Poison with Log deck. It was something that was a little popular maybe a few weeks ago, but not a lot of people played it, and popular is still a bit of an overstatement, but for some reason Topic really loved that makeup. He ran 2 decks looking like that. One of them wasn't working out, so he comes back with this one here, and as you can see there from yesterday, that Miner Rocket control deck that he ran, just not being able to find any success with it, so he got rid of it, which is one of the great things about Gamestars and the separate days of competition. So we are just working through, and as you guys can see, there are only 6 best of 5 remaining for the rest of this entire run. We will be back again tomorrow, but first we have to face off One Hive Hunter and Predator and Inthrill and Topic. So the guys that you just saw got to reset, recollect themselves, come back with the same decks, while One Hive from Sweden and Inthrill from Poland have just been sitting back and thinking and analyzing about what they can do to take advantage of the decks that they just saw.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a huge advantage to see all 4 decks from your opponent, because you did see all of them, and all you really have to do is try and snipe out when you think they're gonna play it, right? If you're able to catch 1 or 2 of those with your best deck, you're in a great spot compared to what they have to go in blind against your decks.
So the next level of that elimination bracket coming your way in just a minute. We have 2 more best of 5s. We are halfway through our day. And before we hop into that, let's take another quick look here at a video from our pros.
Hello everybody, I'm Hugo.
Hey guys, One Hive Hunter here with you.
Today we will show you some tips and tricks for Clash Royale.
So let's see what we got here for you. Here's a pro play that you can impress your friends with. So if you have a Tornado and you're playing against a Magic Archer, you can play the Tornado on this tile and play any card in front of your King Tower for a fast King Tower activation. Enjoy!
In my tip, I will show you how to activate the King Tower with a Magic Archer. So, first of all, you have to use the log when the Magic Archer crosses the river. And then, you put an Ice Spirit to activate the King Tower.
We believe that these tricks and tips will help you improve your performance.
That's all for today. See you in the arena.
The international group stage made it possible to determine the lucky ones worthy of the next stage. From the 3rd to the 5th of November, the best 8 players of the tournament will compete for a stunning $30,000 prize pool. Join the stream of the Clash Royale Gamestars Season 2 International Finals and find out who will become the champion.
So we go to One Hive Hunter and, of course, the winner from earlier today in Predator. But One Hive had a great showing yesterday. He was able to 3-0 Topic, and he did that with a lot of Royal Giant work and a little bit of Graveyards in there. And then it was him who played against Demus, and he spent a lot of the time in the skies there. He was not able to walk away from that set as Demus outplayed him by just a little bit and sent him down to this elimination side of the bracket. One Hive Hunter, a very exceptional player out of Sweden, and now going to have to put it to work here against Predator, who we just saw what he ran today, Eric. And for One Hive Hunter, he had to pre-submit his decks before the day started. So yes, he already had his decks selected, but like you said, it's about finding those matchups out there in the world.
Yeah, the thing is that whether you pre-submitted the decks beforehand or not, you have an idea. As soon as you see one card come into play, you can already pinpoint the deck, right? Okay, he used this today, so as soon as I see the Fisherman, as soon as I see the Wall Breakers, I know the exact composition of his deck. He doesn't know the exact composition of mine, or what idea I have around my archetypes, what's left in my hand, not only for this game but in general. So he's always second guessing everything, while on the other hand, One Hive Hunter has all the cards on the table. It is a very big advantage, but at the same time, it is a well-deserved advantage. You won round number 1, and then you drop down, so you deserve to have some sort of advantage moving forward.
One Hive Hunter yesterday played a lot of Royal Giant and a decent amount of Lava Hound. We saw him play some Royal Hogs, but he had very little success with that. So if I'm One Hive Hunter, I'd love to see him play something completely different today. I'd like to see him go maybe a little bit different in terms of heavier win conditions. I'd like to see Graveyard come out of him. I'd like to see him shelf Royal Giant for the day, but we'll see what happens there. And then Predator, when we talk about what we saw out of him earlier in our set against SB, we saw some RG, we saw some minor control with Wall Breakers, but really it was basically, that was it. We saw RG a lot, and then we saw one game. So we'll see what One Hive wants to come out with first. I mean, maybe something that has a building in it, something that has good single target DPS, just in case Predator does want to go back to RG. And I still feel like there's a mortar deck out in the works for Predator. We know that he loves that. We did see the minor Wall Breakers deck, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went 2 RG decks, minor Wall Breakers, and then minor mortar as that last deck. But we'll have to just find out, wait and see in this set. This is another elimination set. Here we go. Predator bottom of your screen, One Hive Hunter at the top. One Hive Hunter did have that first round bye in the elimination bracket, as you were just mentioning, Eric, and Predator goes back to Wall Breakers.
I was about to say, if I am a One Hive Hunter, and I promise, guys, I promise right there, I'm not saying it because I just saw it. I was just waiting on you know, Andrew to finish his part. I was gonna say, if I'm One Hive Hunter, the one thing I'm preparing for in game number 1 is Wall Breakers. I do not want to lose to this Wall Breakers deck early on and give Predator confidence. And I'm glad that it seems like One Hive was ready for it, because, you know, the Mega Knight is a great answer to it. The Hunter as well has decent enough. As I say that, it was probably the worst placement that you could have done on that Hunter, and he knows it. You see him shaking his head.
Yeah, very unhappy about that, allowing so much damage to come in. You see, once again, shaking his head that E was maybe just a tile too high. Yeah. Wait, maybe just need a second longer. Let those Spear Goblins get a little closer, and then that Electro Wizard can focus on the Miner and the Spear Goblins. But now maybe back in control is One Hive Hunter of his cycle, but down already half a tower on that right-hand side. This is not the position he wants to be in.
Yeah, that was without a doubt quite the rough start for him here. Does he have anything for those bats? And he sure does. He has the arrows. Not too sure why he didn't go with the arrows instead in that first cycle around. It seems like if he would have just hit the Miner and those bats, it would have saved him a Hunter. It would have saved him a lot of trouble as well. And I think the Valk was low enough where it would have gone down. So maybe just a little bit of lapse in judgment with those nerves for the game number 1. Like we've said so many times, game number 1 is the hardest one to get underway for each player during the day. Predator is warmed up. He's already won his set. He's already feeling good. So I don't expect too many mistakes out of him.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you make. Predator did have to fight for his life, but now warmed up is the Belarusian. And with now ticking into double elixir time. We'll see if One Hive Hunter does want to pull a trigger on what looks like a graveyard deck here, a very different and interesting one, but that's at least what it feels like at the moment.
Yeah, and this E-Wiz damage is actually no joke for him late in the game, because now he has the option of going in whichever lane Predator is actually attacking. He's no longer tied into one because he has enough damage on both to make it work here. A beautiful defense there onto the wall breakers, and his only big problem here is how much value those bats continuously get.
And there you go. MK leaps into range of the tower. There you go with some nice arrows on top of the spear goblins, but bats up high, going to make good work, light work of this graveyard. And that's going to be the struggle for One Hive Hunter, is where to place his arrows. Is it on top of the spears? Is it on top of the bats? He's probably never going to get both.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult unless Predator has, does spam everything on top of it, which I highly doubt he will. This type of player will not make those mistakes to just go ahead and put the bats and the spear goblins all together. He's a lot smarter than that, and he's not going to allow the value. But, I mean, One Hive is just having a bad time right now.
It really does feel like Predator's just in control of One Hive's units with interactions. He's just making them all work incorrectly for One Hive Hunter. Now One Hive going to go back on the offense here. He goes for a fireball on top first, and then now doesn't have enough to either defend the wall breakers or send in arrows. And honestly, he doesn't really do either of them, Eric. He just kind of caught looking, and now he calls the good game. And while you said to look out for wall breakers in game number 1, he is not able to lock things down with a goblin cage, with an electro wizard, with arrows. And I think a big part of it was what you were mentioning, is that Predator's already warmed up, and we saw some big misplays interaction wise out of One Hive early in this game.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with that. The game number 1, you're going up against someone that not only is warmed up, but mentally is in the best place he's been in the tournament, right? He went out, he absolutely dominated, and now he's ready to go, and he wins again here versus you in game number 1. This is a really bad position to be in. You have to gain your confidence while theirs is at an all-time high.
Fireball log comes in to close things out, and that is very correct. Predator did start his day yesterday against Hugo. He lost that set, was sent down to the elimination bracket where he's just been sitting and waiting, and then you saw what he did earlier today. So going into game number 2, One Hive Hunter going to need to lock down his interactions, and that deck that we saw out of him, it was an MK graveyard deck. Yes, Predator doesn't ever run poison, but he does run a ton of baity cards around it. And I think the best thing that he did in those moments was obviously he separated his defensive cards in the spear goblins and in the bats. He waited to drop one and then drop the other when a spell came down, but he was also still poking and prodding with those wall breakers, so that One Hive Hunter had to decide, where do I defend, where do I use my spell power? And honestly, it looked like he just got overwhelmed a couple times.
Yeah, and a perfect example of what you just said is that last push where you saw the fireball, and then you mentioned he did an arrows with it. And the reason why he did an arrows, it seemed like he got stun locked for a second, because it wasn't a mistake that Predator put the bats and the spear goblins there. He put the bats and the spear goblins, and you have a sense that One Hive was about to place those down, and he sees the wall breakers go on the left-hand lane, and then he's kind of like, do I defend? And by the time he actually made a decision, the wall breakers connected, the bats took care of the whole graveyard, the miner was on the tower, and it was just a mess. And that was not by mistake. Predator knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he orchestrated that perfectly, and I'm so glad that you broke that down. When you talk about double dropping, it does feel a little bit icky, right? When you know your opponent has that spell response. But like you said, Eric, a beautiful play there by Predator, recognizing, okay, I'm going to overwhelm him mentally right now. He's not going to know where to use the arrows. He does go with the aggressive fireball early on. Perfect. Now the game is mine. Predator does just that thing. Wall breakers connect, and like you said, bats plus spear goblins clean up the graveyard, and that's GG. Game number 1 in the books for Predator. And you let the guy come out with his comfort deck in game number 1, and he absolutely dominates with it. And that's trouble. That's something you have to look for in these sets going against Predator.
It is a lot of trouble, and I mean, Predator is no joke, man. He is one part of that group, that elite group of the mortar players, the miner players, and especially from his region, where he has trained with Igor and Lapo and Legolas. That we mention them a lot, but that's the best of the best in the game when it comes to that archetype. You don't get better than that. So the fact that he beat you with that, and he could still come out with something else, is something along the lines of a mortar, and he's just as good with that. It is very scary right now for One Hive Hunter.
So a big change up here from One Hive, going to Bandit here in game number 2, and then out of Predator. We see Dark Prince and Mega Minion, which meant earlier on today it was going to be RG.
Oh, that is unfortunate. That is actually unfortunate, but the positive oh, okay, never mind.
Wow.
I was about to say the positive thing is he should get a lot of value out of these bats, and the only person getting a lot of value out of these bats is actually Predator, and already a good game called here out of One Hive Hunter. And to be honest, I don't think it's one of those good games that you're out of tilt. I legit think it is over. You cannot win this.
And you can see, you know, at first it's kind of a quick smile going, man, how did that happen? How did that go so poorly so quickly? And then now you can see it's a little bit more of despondent One Hive Hunter, who is just recognizing he's about to go down 0-2 in this best of 5 against a very exceptional competitor. And, you know, give credit where it's due. One Hive Hunter hasn't given up yet, but a Fisherman plus an Electro Spirit is going to make light work of those bats. A log comes in with a Dark Prince, and you can see this is just a demoralizing minute and 30 seconds remaining for One Hive Hunter.
Yeah, he has no chance. The only way something weird happens is if Predator decides out of nowhere, has a light bulb turned on in his head that says 3 crown, 3 crown, 3 crown, and decides to push for the 3 crown, and then somehow One Hive gets back into the game. But other than that, there's no way into it. He will not go on offense again. Maybe just throw an RG down for all time's sake if he wants to later on in the game. But right now, it's pure defense. Fireball onto that Musketeer. You're going to see a log come in later. Once all that moves a little bit more forward, you have the Electro Spirit for the bats, you have the Mother Witch. There's just too much to deal with.
And so holding on that log is Predator, and ends up deciding to use something else instead. There's the late log on the right-hand side as those wall breakers plus miner do connect, and that's got to feel good for One Hive Hunter. But 15, 14, and 30 seconds as this ensuing push comes in the left-hand side still feels like it's out of his grasp.
Yeah, the problem is, even if he was to take that right-hand side tower, it is very difficult. Oh, that's it. The Dark Prince timing there was perfect. It gets not only the bandit, but it gets the wall breakers, Electro Spirit to break that down even further. And now he's just predicting miners and stuff as best as he can. You're going to see the Mother Witch come down as well. Not a bad play out of him there with the prediction barrel and the Musketeer, but too many answers on the side of Predator.
Yeah, it's just too late. You know, maybe just needing to play a little bit more passively in the beginning of this game was One Hive Hunter so he could figure out what his opponent had. And honestly, Eric, you have to think about what we saw out of Predator earlier today. One Hive should have expected to see that Mother Witch come out. He should have been looking for that Mother Witch to come down on the bats. It's something that Predator looked for. It's something that SB capitalized on. It's something that you and I spoke about on that broadcast. And while it was a bit of misfortune for One Hive Hunter, it wasn't completely out of nowhere. It's something that he could have kind of looked for.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it all stems from wanting to do too much with too little, right? There was no real reason to go in with that big of a push that early on in the game when you're playing a chip damage. If that Musketeer was full health, I would buy it, right? I would tell you, you know what? It's not that bad because the Musketeer could take care of all those hoggies, could even take care of the Mother Witch. But the Musketeer was in log range damage-wise after that Dark Prince connected. It was just going to get logged, and then you're just sitting there with a miner and bats, no elixir going up against the Mother Witch. I think a little too greedy to get some damage early on in the game, and that ended up costing him. But like you said, definitely not out of nowhere. It was a misplay.
Yeah, and you know, as we kind of dive deeper into that conversation, you have to think about knowing what you're going up against. You know, we saw, like I said, I think the first 5 seconds of that game, or 10 seconds, we saw the Dark Prince and the Mega Minion. We knew exactly what Predator was going to go to. We knew it was going to be Royal Giant once again. And when you talk about getting that damage early game from One Hive Hunter, you know, the Mother Witch was going to come out for the bats, but he still sent the wall breakers in the opposite lane. Any good RG player in that moment sees the massive overspend, goes, all right, let me just take that damage from the wall breakers. Let's get an RG on the board and see what happens. And that's exactly what Predator did. And it was really just kind of drawn out for him. He didn't even have to really do anything other than react the way that you're supposed to.
Exactly that. I mean, Predator is sitting there playing his game. I remember we made the comment earlier today, all you have to do is play your game, Predator. You're so good. And it seems like he was watching the stream because he's just sitting back, allowing his opponents to really, you know, make the mistakes. He's not doing anything extraordinary. That RG in front of the hoggies or behind the hoggies and everything, that's not a 8,000 trophy player range type of play. It's, I see bats, I Mother Witch creates hoggies. He has no elixir. I have 6 elixir. I'm going to RG. Good game.
Yeah. And that was it. And that was it from that moment on. We did see a little bit more of his fancy footwork defensively as it got into double elixir, but really at that point, he had the luxury of spending an arm and a leg only to defend. One Hive Hunter, creates a little bit of damage, which Predator's happy to do. You take 1,000 damage here to ensure that you win the game there. And right now we see another aggressive move here out of One Hive Hunter, a lightning to catch, and with the naked balloon to start, it almost feels like it could be Loon Freeze, but who knows? 7 more cards to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. You're trying to get some damage, but just a straight up balloon is probably not gonna do much early on in the game, right? You have to be really, really lucky that they have absolutely nothing in their cycle for that to get any value. And the reason I don't like it is because you already showed your win condition.
Yes, yeah, agreed. And if I'm already able to guess that it could be Loon Freeze, there's only about one other deck it could be, and it is actually going to be Lava Loon. So he's going to switch things up a little bit here, and he's going to go to the skies. But with Dark Prince coming out, and those cards already showing, I'm not sure if he's going to have Miner in this deck or not.
Yeah, I also would have loved to see Predator maybe go on offense here, just because you don't want to put yourself in this position. But there is this one little thing called the lightning, and he could just go ahead and lightning to be safe if he wants to. Hello, maybe don't take the whole damage. Okay, he's gonna take the whole damage anyway, and now and now he's forced to lightning. That's why you play it safe, man. You never want to risk it just to be, you're gonna try and save 6 elixir, which in the back of your head is not gonna happen, right? You knew it, I knew it, and he knew it. That loon was gonna connect. So why risk it? Just play it safe. Now you lost your tower and you're in a terrible position.
I remember kind of struggling to articulate a question that I was asking you maybe several months ago. It might have even been in GameStars Season 1. And I was asking you, how many times when you were coaching the best in the world would you be like, yeah, you should try to make that really risky defense as opposed to going for the 100% defense? And you were like, every single time, even if you find yourself a little down in elixir, even if it doesn't feel like the best thing you want to do, you play the 100% defense going to pay off move, because that extends the game longer. Nothing can go bad. Your opponent can't make something out of nothing. And that's exactly right there put into practice. Was she should have just lightning off the bat. He should have just lightning off the bat, would have saved the tower. Instead tries to do something too fancy, and he ends up getting punished for it.
Absolutely. And the best players will play like that. When have you seen Ruben or Mugi or Mo try to save on the defensive side? They try to save on the offensive side, not on the defensive side, right? You'll never see any of them, try to get away with one of those defenses or something like that, because it's just not worth it. You will either lose the game, or you get the 1 out of 100 times that it actually ends up working, and the odds are just not in your favor. And now, Predator, you let him back into the set, and if last set taught us anything, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, and like you said, 1 out of 100 times that might work. And I think the worst thing about it working that 1 out of 100 times is it gives you hope to do it again, right? It worked once. I know that this worked one time, and this is exactly what we're talking about. This early lightning coming in and then dropping the Mega Minion down ensures that the balloon goes down, ensures that there's damage on the Inferno, ensures that those pups come out, and then it's a much easier to contain defense. Instead, he has to drop the cage up high. He does a really good job of kind of threading the needle of getting the Mega Minion in on top of that balloon. It was really great interactions. But then as the balloon worked towards the tower, it gets a drop, the Mega Minion retargets onto the Lava Hound, and you essentially lose the game. So just a little bit of tips there from our world champion head coach, Eric Benamou. Play the defense that works, not the one that you want to work. Yeah. And like you said, One Hive back in this set.
Yeah, and if you run that back and you do that exact lightning when you should have done it, there is no damage coming in, because the Mega Minion will target that loon. It'll get it out right even before the death damage. Then your lava is so weak that with the Mother Witch, you're actually going to generate the pups that ends up distracting the Inferno Dragon, and you don't have to spend anything else. You keep both of your troops healthy and alive as well, and you can create a counter push dual lane because he already had troops on the right as well. Just for 6 elixir, my guy, just throw it down.
It's a really good point that you make too about the lava pups turning into pigs that then turn around and distract that Inferno Dragon, which would have been the biggest problem on the back end if in case those pups were tanking for it. But like you said, those piggies going to distract and would have been a clean defense. So Predator going to maybe learn from his mistakes, and he comes back here in game number 4. One Hive Hunter back still up against the wall, and now it's Predator's turn to get hyper aggressive.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a pattern here. You lose a game, you go hyper aggressive, you pray for the best, you lose that game, and then you go for your third game, and then you do your best to just stay calm, right? It seems like that has been the pattern for today. They need to relax a little bit more. I know a lot of money's on the line, but why change up what's been working? You played 2 games absolutely perfect. You sat back, you waited for one hype to make mistakes, to get too aggressive, and it paid off. Don't make the mistakes that won you games from your opponent.
So now one hive looking like he's going to a graveyard look here, like a twist on splash yard. We'll see.
Yeah.
And with an aggressive baby dragon at the bridge, it does seem like that is the case. And a goblin cage plus fishboy come out defensively, and so far doing a great job mitigating like 99% of that damage.
Yeah, obviously you have a little bit of that RNG factor when you are playing graveyard. So if a lot of the skellies would have spawned on the top right corner of the tower, he probably could have got 300-400 damage. Unfortunately for him, they all went right next to the brawler and the fisherman, and good job there defending by Predator as well. This time around, definitely not taking any risk, not only putting the cage but also putting the fisherman, and to avoid any other damage he goes ahead and logs as well. So I think he learned his lesson from the last game.
This could be trouble for One Hive Hunter when you look at the deck that he has. Usually this deck, or at least this type of construction with that many utility cards, doesn't run a big spell with Tornado, and with Mother Witch being in play and obviously not on the graveyard right now, we'll see how One Hive is going to deal with that as this game moves forward.
Yeah, it could in the long term, especially look at the damage he's getting now, and that is big time damage. He was able to defend that left hand side with only the log and the brawler at first. Last minute decides to go ahead and throw that in, but if he has freeze that he's gonna throw down at the end, I'm not sure how Predator defends it.
And we will see if that is the last card. It feels like it has to be that last card, but first he has to play defense here in both lanes. Dark Prince brings that tower down to below 900 as this ensuing RG comes down. A defensive freeze at the right time, considering that lightning comes down as well. EU is up high, but a piggy makes its way through to the tower. And another piggy spawn. This is big trouble.
Yeah, and he's gonna call the good game there. And Predator was not only bailed out in the sense that, okay, I have a full rotation before I have to worry about how I'm gonna defend a graveyard freeze, but he was bailed out by the fact that it got pushed back first. The Inferno Dragon then had to start sizzling all over again, and a very, very nice offensive sequence there for him. And like you said, when you're playing this type of deck, not having that big spell is gonna maybe haunt you a little bit with seeing that Mother Witch and that Dark Prince and all of those troops on the other end.
The lightning comes down here. Easy lightning value for Predator as that Mega Minion gets close, but will not get a swing with only a minute and 17 seconds remain. This is the last ditch effort for One Hive Hunter, and there's that Mother Witch down in the back. There's the NATO pull everything together. Where's the freeze? No freeze in hand. There it is, late.
Too late.
There's already so much on the board.
Yeah, too many troops on the board to where even if the graveyard was spawning up those skellies, it doesn't matter because the odds that it spawns in between 4 troops, very small. And Predator taken today like if yesterday never happened.
That's right, and that's exactly what you have to do. Predator came out with a lot of different looks today. He only honestly had one game where he was playing kind of uncharacteristically, away from his play style. Actually, this game as well, but he did coming out with a win. He was just so aggressive early on with that RG brawler, Mega Minion push or whatever it was. But One Hive Hunter not having a big spell, running graveyard, it does feel like a bit of just an odd deck construction. So many times and forever, it was just anytime you run graveyard, you run it with poison. Obviously, graveyard freeze is a little bit different, but with Mother Witch being as prevalent in the meta as she is, it just feels like a bad idea.
I agree with you 100%. You see the always sportsman One Hive even. I like the swag. I like the Predator swag. I got my glasses on. Rich, give me a call because I need a pair of your glasses. That's what Predator is also hinting at there. But I like it. They're having fun with it. They're loosening up a lot more than season 1. I don't know if you remember, but season 1, Predator was always like a very well-dressed, kind of like the picture that you see there. He was a lot more like stiff, just focus. This time it looks like he's actually enjoying himself.
Absolutely, and that enjoyment is translating to success here for the player from Belarus who will move on. He stays alive, and he will be back tomorrow on our final day. That's right, tomorrow is the final day of GameStars Season 2 International Finals. The entire run, we will be giving away the majority of that $30,000 prize purse tomorrow, and of course, $7,000 of it goes to one of these individuals still standing between Hugo, Demas, and Predator, and of course, Inthrill and Topic, our last best of 5 today. That will be the last match of the day to show us the 4 competitors moving through to our finals tomorrow. And this is where we've been going back and forth 1 to 3. SB falls to Predator, then it's the Awesome who falls to Topic. One Hive Hunter cannot hold up against Predator, who has been on a run today. 6-2 on the day. Really great stuff out of him. And then of course, we are now at our final match. We're going to take one more break before we hop into our final set. We'll see you in just 1 second.
Cześć, mam na imię Wiktor, mam 18 lat, w grze mam nick int125.
Hello everyone, my name is Dmitry and I am 18 years old. My nickname is Dimas.
Всем привет, меня зовут Арам, больше известен как Стиль ГХГ.
Najwięcej eliksiru zużywają 3 muszkieterki, 9 eliksiru.
3 Musketeers is the most expensive card in the game. It costs 9 elixir.
Больше всего эликсира потратится на 3 мушкетера, некогда мои любимые карты.
Legendarny kart? 12.
I think 15 legendary cards in Clash Royale.
Ой, легендарки понеслась. Сначала появилась принцесса, потом шахтер, потом ледяной маг, потом, если мне память не ошибает, был Спарки, а после Спарки был громовержец или громовержец, потом Спарки, это не важно. А потом, я не помню, как они появлялись, но потом бревно, ночная ведьма, ведьмина бабушка, это 8, мега-рыцарь это 9, а магический лучник это 10. И кого-то Арамка еще забыл. 10. Кого-то я точно забыл, прям чувствую. Ладно, если кого-то забыл, то забыл. А я бревно сказал или нет? Блин. Ладно, 10.
Spirit uchyla jest w grze. 4.
4 types: Electro, Heal, Fire and Ice.
Значит, получается огненный дух, ледяной дух, электродух, ну и дух исцеления, то есть 4 духа.
Życie wieży na 13 poziomie, nie mam pojęcia. 3100.
3668.
9 левел, я помню, там 2500, по-моему, 40 с чем-то. А 13 уровень, пусть будет 3250.
Tesla.
Tesla.
Известный ученый Тесла.
Wydaje mi się, że większy zasięg ma Freeze.
Obviously, poison range is wider than freeze range.
Радиус действия больше, конечно же, у заклинания яда. У заморозки уменьшали.
Na pewno są 2 sezony, więc chyba 2.
4 or 5 tournaments.
2. Ребята, я неправильно ответил на этот вопрос, потому что провинился и не следил за новостями GameStars. Обязательно подписывайтесь на все ссылочки, принимайте участие в турнирах, в ежемесячных турнирах. Набирайтесь опыта и зарабатывайте деньги вместе с GameStars.
Apparently Demas can do it all. He can play Clash Royale and he knows so much about the game. He's got the most answers correct there in the trivia, and I do love watching the trivia. There's always some tough questions in there. Eric, how would you have fared on those questions?
Great, 100%. I don't miss anything. I mean, you will never know, but I'm gonna go ahead and just say, 100%. No one has to know.
That's the safest way to do it. This is where we are. We've already gone through 3 best of 5s today. SB and Predator, Topic and Awesome, One Hive Hunter and Predator once again. You can see their Predator, the victor of the day, at least thus far, and now Inthril with his first round bye here in the elimination bracket after succeeding yesterday in his first set and then getting sent down to the elimination bracket. Now going to be going up against Topic, a guy that struggled a lot yesterday, but then was able to bounce back today. He almost got reverse swept by the Awesome, but able to close things out in game number 5. And Eric, talking about this matchup, it feels like Topic does have quite the mountain to climb.
He sure does. Inthril is one of those players that is just on a roll in his career right now. If we were talking last season, I would say Topic probably has a better shot confidence-wise and everything, but right now, Inthril out of that semi-pro scene is one of those people that is rising and rising very quickly. I think just a couple days ago he got announced in another tournament. I think he's playing the Masters and Chasmag, this and that and everything, and like those are invite tournaments. Those are not just qualified tournaments as well. And when you start getting invited, it means that people are noticing your skill, they're noticing you, and Inthrill's having a quick rise to the top.
Yeah, it does really feel like this is kind of his it moment. So what a great time in Gamestars League right now to stay alive, extend that run. But he's got to beat Topic right now from Russia, who, like we said, had a great set back and forth with the Awesome earlier today. But the biggest thing I think that's going to be one of the factors, or maybe the biggest factor in this matchup, are those 2 decks coming out of Topic. Those minor control decks with MK, one with Poison, one with Fireball, the other, one with Log, one with Arrows. He has to win with one of these 2 decks, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough, man. And I mean, I'm curious to see what Inthrill's plan of attack is here when you saw that One Hive wasn't able to capitalize on that advantage of really knowing what your opponent was using. Right. I want to see if Inthril is able to, because in my opinion, from the outside looking in, if you have a coach or someone, there is no way that should not be playing into your hand, into your advantage. You have to be able to, okay. And he's starting off with the deck that, I mean, I guess we're worried about.
Yeah, apparently Topic not sharing those same woes as us as this Mega Minion comes in and gets no swings on the tower. Perfect timing there on the Spear Goblins. Yesterday, Inthril was able to put wins together with Royal Hogs, Mortar. He did P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider. All those good things in set number 1, but then it was when he ran into Hugo, he brought out some more Royal Giant, and Royal Giant was kind of his deck to struggle with, or his win condition to struggle with yesterday. So we'll see if he does bring out any RG at all today, as this high Inferno Dragon able to play somewhat double duty. Spear Goblins get some good damage in on that tower, down about 700 HP already.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see if Topic is running the Arrows version or the Log version, because that is gonna make a huge difference in this matchup. And I think we're gonna find out pretty soon here exactly which one he is gonna be running. If it is the Log version, I wouldn't be all that worried, even though he's had a rough start here. The Lava Hound is, I mean, never gonna get past the bridge at this rate.
Yeah, the Zappies kind of piled up. One of them is in the safe spot, so Inthril trying to put a stop to this, drops that Flying Machine up high and in the center of the map, looking to go find that Goblin Hut. Mega Minion comes down to catch the Flying Machine, but Inthril maybe suspecting that, sends a miner to the hut as well. And so far, Topic untouched here through 1 minute and 40 seconds of gameplay. Yeah, and he brings out the variant with the Arrows Fireball one instead of the Log one, so that is more bad news for Inthril. If you're Inthril, though, the good news I can give you is the fact that he already lost this matchup today. So you definitely have a shot at winning it. I just don't think we're going to see the same mistakes come out of Topic here, even though I think this is one of those mistakes that he made. He was continuously playing those Zappies in front of the Mega Knight to then grab the Mega Knight before it gets onto the Inferno Dragon, and he's making the same errors here. Only difference is this time around, I don't think Inthril played it as smart as his previous opponent did right there. And there you see Inthril having to basically spend down to 0 to defend here. Mega Minion going to work its way down the lane, and a Cannon Cart will distract, so still no damage done on either tower here for Topic, and Inthril sets up another Lava Hound in the back, trying to create some sort of offense. Yeah, and he's going to have the cage here. I don't know if he has it in cycle or not. He does not have it in cycle, which means that this is going to be a lot of damage onto his tower below 900, and the arrows take out those guards.
You need to go on the offensive here. You don't really have much time left, especially in the sense that, look, Topic doesn't even have to Mega Knight anymore. He can just Miner, Arrows, and Fireball anytime he wants. And he doesn't get all the Spear Goblins there, but Arrows... Arrows?
So Arrows out of cycle. Fireball does come down, but a great amount of damage comes in. Inthril working around the spell cycle of his opponent, knowing Arrows was out from earlier, knowing that that Fireball was demanded out up high here at the bridge, is able to get that Miner in the tank for those pups for just a bit. Still down, though, by about 800 HP. We'll see what Inthril wants to do on this next send, and this time he does have that Goblin Cage ready to go.
Yeah, he sure does, but a beautiful Fireball there from him, from both players, honestly. It was just a good all-around Fireball exchange, good overall. I guess Elixir trade, no one really ended up positive. If you look at the board, they're exactly the same. It was a battle on the bridge that nobody won.
We saw there that Inthril had to overspend that MK, almost leaping onto tower. He does a nice guards surround on that MK, but then guards unavailable. So just 3 elixir that he had to overspend on to defend enough, and that's kind of the name of the game right now for Topic, just recognizing the inability to control the ground in all aspects is Inthril here, as that Lava Hound does get on tower again, but a Miner brings his tower down to 500 HP.
And this is it. This is the one final push you get. That is a lot of Fireball value if he's able to get back to that Fireball, which I'm sure he will by the time he actually needs it. Miner does come in to start getting a little bit more of that chip damage, and I don't like the guards because you're giving him more arrows value for when that lava does pop, and that is it. GG, well played.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see the guards actually go to the Miner there instead, maybe up high in front of the Princess Tower. They would have, one would have went to the Miner or 2, and then one would have also went over to that MK and helped out with that Brawler's kind of heavy lifting of getting that big guy off the board. But you know what? Topic happy to throw it back on our faces. He goes up against a matchup we saw earlier today that he lost, and while he did have a lot of great responses there, just not able to capitalize was Inthril, the same way that we saw Topic's opponent earlier on today. So down 1 is the player from Poland.
Yeah, and he's not only down 1, he's down 1 to, you know, really the deck that was giving Topic the most amount of trouble in the first set. So for Topic, you got to be feeling good, man. You got this out of the way. You got a W in the first game, and you still have the other 2 decks where you started off 2-0. You looked really, really good playing them as well. So it's all looking on the up and up for him, and I'd be very shocked if both of their players that were waiting for these 2 today in that second round of losers bracket both went down, and it's looking like it's a real possibility right now.
Yeah, it really does right now. Topic playing very clean, and like you said, he started his last set off with those 2 decks that he went 100% with. One of them was the Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits. The other one was P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider. I think either one of those would be great. I do like the P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider one because of the lightning. We don't know what big cards, big buildings Inthril is going to come out with. So that's the deck that I would go to in game number 2 if I'm Topic. Inthril, the world is his oyster. He can go right back to what we just saw, or he can try one of his other 3 decks. Game number 2 of our last best of 5 today. One of them will be going home at the end of this set.
Yeah, and if he does go with this, and Topic's going right, oh wow, and it's the same matchup, only no arrows this time around, and it seemed like, I know this is weird, but it seems like Topic is actually better with the log version. The 2 times we saw him play the other one, he was good, but with the log version, he seemed a lot more comfortable when he's going on the offensive. So still another tough matchup here for Inthril.
Yeah, a lot of good responses here. You saw how much value those Zappies kept getting in that last matchup, just always demanding the Fireball out of Inthril because they were just keeping that Lava Hound stuck and stalling in the skies.
Yeah, this has to be another frustrating start here for Inthril. Yes, you're gonna lava, but look at how many Spear Goblins are getting onto that tower. That tower is down 50% already. Before you even got your first Lava Hound down, this cannon card's still gonna have to get dealt with. You have the Spear Goblins. Those Spear Goblins are going to stack up on top because that Inferno Dragon and everything else is gonna be focused on that cannon card. And I mean, this is looking a little bit rough for him right now.
So this time Inthril once again looking for that Mega Minion that comes up high from Topic. Could be a bit of saving grace there as the Flying Machine is still completely untouched. Now a Poison has to come down and do slow work here, so the Flying Machine will connect behind that Lava Hound. It is getting tanked for by that Miner, and just like that, insane amounts of damage done. Luckily for Topic, though, he did have that great hit earlier on, 1350 to 1555. Inthril in the lead by a good amount, but Topic's still not out of this one.
I think the whole issue was I don't want to pinpoint every issue, but I think that one was the only reason all this damage came through. At that point, you let the Mega Minion lock onto the spear, the Goblin Hut, and then you take off the Flying Machine straight up with your Mega Minion. Don't rush it trying to get Mega Minion onto Mega Minion and some damage, because if that Mega Minion took out that Flying Machine, a lot of that damage from that push came in from there.
So once again, we see Inthril, and look at that lava connecting on that right-hand side. Inthril supporting his Flying Machine with a high Mega Minion, but now maybe a bit of an overspend in the center of the map. We'll see how he wants to defend here. Brawler going to do work on that MK and actually going to get help from the other Princess Tower. This was about as picture-perfect as defense gets, all things considered.
Yeah, well played there by Inthril, and he's back in it. We got a 1-1 set. Inthril does not allow him to go up 2-0, and I think your call was right. If he would have gone over there with that P.E.K.K.A deck, he would have had another very decent matchup, right? The pressure is always on. Yes, the guards are going to be a little bit of a hassle, but at the same time, how is he going to build a push when you have lightning? You just don't lightning the lava. You get all the troops around it. You cannot do Flying Machine, Mega Minion, and Inferno Dragon at any point in that game in one push, because that's all lightning value and it all gets wiped across the board. So I think your call was the right one.
So Inthril does make this Lava Hound deck work out, and so we're going to see a different look from him moving forward. Who knows what it'll be? We know that he does love to play all different types of archetypes, especially ones that are strong in the meta, so we might see RG, we might see Ram Rider, we might even see Royal Hogs out of him. Still a lot to be told. Topic on the other side of it, we know what he has, and I really truly believe, like you said, in between games 1 and 2, now between games 2 and 3, he should go back to one of those first 2 decks he played, whether it's Recruits or Ram Rider. Do you have a preference on, or do you just think either one of them is better than what we just saw again?
I would like to see Recruits first now, just in the sense that you lost a really good lightning value matchup already, and if he comes at you with something completely different like Recruits, like RG, and you have lightning, it's not as useful. The odds that you get another matchup with this amount of lightning value are very low. So maybe go the Recruits route and play it a little bit more safe, on top of the fact that he played that really well in his first match.
Yeah, he absolutely did. I mean, in those first 2 games out of Topic, he looked untouchable against the Awesome. And then, like we said, it was a game number 5 win that Topic was able to play that first deck. I believe it was the first deck that we saw of the Minor Poison Goblin Hut deck with MK, that he was able to finally take that dub off of an MK leap to the tower. So here we go. Game number 3, all evened up. And Topic, once again, loving to go back to this Minor Poison control deck. I'd love to see something different out of him here. And then for Inthril, like we were just talking about, so many win conditions still out there, Eric.
Yeah, just go with what you feel good with. You ride the momentum, ride your career momentum that you're having right now. Everything's feeling great. Everything's clicking for him. I don't think he has to overthink anything. Just play the game you've been playing for the past couple of months here since the last time we saw you. I mean, we saw him early in Gamestars League number 1, the season 1, and he was a completely different player. You can see it in his face. You can see it in the concentration, in the plays and everything. So just keep going with what you've gotten used to now.
So looking like Inthril is going to be going to Royal Giant, and Topic maybe is listening to the broadcast here. I think he is going right back to that Recruits deck, but there is still the Recruits and the Log and Mega Minion. Never mind. I think he's going right back to that Goblin Hut deck, Eric.
Yeah, I think he's hit like a wall, like a mental wall, where he feels that he has to win with this. But the thing is, you no longer have to do that. The greatest rule change of the season was the fact that you have 4 decks now. You do not have to get hard stuck on one of your decks and force a win with it. Just switch it up.
So we'll see if this Fisherman of Inthrils does him better than the Fisherman of the Awesome.
It can't do him any worse. You know that. That Fisherman was it betrayed him more than anyone else possible. To be honest, it was a very rough Fisherman, I guess, run through that we had there. But the Motherwood's gonna get value here for Inthril as well. Obviously gonna bait out the poison whenever he wants to, and a nice log there for cleanup. It's gonna be interesting to see how this game ends up playing out. It's not an easy matchup for either of them.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup when you talk about the Goblin Hut there to stop the RG in its tracks. Of course, the cannon cart to add another building if Topic is able to do so. But then the Zappies plus the log and the Mega Minion, you got the great single target DPS and that stun and slow and knockback are all going to be really good ways for Topic to create great defenses, all the while sending miners into the tower. And as we get deeper into the game, those miners plus poison are going to be really, really great, because you talk about the options of catching the miners for Inthrill, they are all pretty susceptible to poison.
Absolutely. And here you see the double fisherman pull as well. And I wouldn't mind, I know I'm usually amongst the people that say that I don't want to see Mother Witches played on the bridge, but I think this is the matchup where you do it. Do not allow him to continuously get that poison value over and over again. You want to try and see is as soon as you see some Spirit Goblins stack up on the bridge, play it up high, get some early hoggies in, and then force one of those poisons very high up. That doesn't give your opponent too much value. I think that's another key point that he should focus on for the remainder of this game.
As we were just saying, that miner gets on tower because an RG is the best response there. Maybe doesn't want to play skeletons as they're easy to take off the board. Then you have to find yourself overspending, just like we were mentioning. Play that 100% defense as opposed to the one that you hope works out.
Yeah, and here we go. Cannon carts and the fishermen's, the worst combos you can have apparently in Clash, and this pull will bring it all the way back anyway, so not really doing much there. And this is the type of Mother Witch I want to see. Do not give him any poison value. Start getting some damage into those troops. Help out with your skellies. Beautiful play out of him, and I think it's time he starts getting on offense.
And there it is. Perfect call there from you, Eric, as the RG comes down at the same moment that you talk about it, and it does connect to the tower. No Goblin Hunt in sight, so an MK plus a Mega Minion have to come in and play cleanup, but good damage in here from Inthrill. 2025 to 23-35 here in game number 3.
Yeah, and he has to be a little bit careful here in the sense that that fisherman actually pulled the miner instead of the Mega Knight. Luckily for him, the Mega Knight was sufficiently damaged to the point where it didn't matter, but if that would have had a little more health, that could have definitely been a Mega Knight jump onto tower.
Poison and log give the lead back over to Topic as an RG starts working down the opposite lane here, and I like what Inthrill's doing. He recognizes only a difference at about 200 HP on the towers, but his is much lower on that left-hand side, so let's change the tempo, change the pace, and work on the right side of the board.
Yeah, and I like the whole log combo. Get that cannon cart down as quick as possible. Let the RG handle it so I don't have to overspend. I have another RG ready to go, and here we go. This is where it gets a lot trickier. The Zappies are going to be taken off there, but a log, if he can get a log in here as well, those Mega Minions are going to do work.
Mega Minion trying to work on the Mega Minion of Topics, but Topics just Mega Minion kind of running, dodging. 1651 remains on that right-hand tower to 1618. Good damage in there from Topic as he tried to get a cannon cart plus miner push in that was stopped in its tracks by a Royal Ghost.
Oh no, he used the log. Why did he? Yeah, I don't know. That's GG, but I don't know if he should have just started cycling spells on the left if I was Topic. He started using all his logs. Defensive fell behind so deeply, and overall, Inthrill, great adjustment. He started playing the Mother Witches up high. He went on offense when he had to. He did a great play by playing that RG in the back, like you said, recognizing, okay, if I go into the same lane, it's not good for me. I have to end up giving poison value every time. And just a very heads-up play, and you can see the progression in his game since the last time we casted him.
And those Goblin Huts are really, really tough when you talk about playing them as a defensive building for those Royal Giants. They don't have quite as much HP as you'd like. The log comes in, takes the Spear Goblins out of play, and they have to be played, as you saw there, really, really up high as to not give too much spell value as well. So really great stuff from Inthrill, being very patient for the first few minutes of that game, which is exactly what he needed to do. You sensed when he needed to go on offense, as did he. That's exactly what he did. A great heads-up lane change throughout to make sure that Topic wasn't getting too much out of it. And one thing I would have liked to see Topic do maybe would have been to get more Goblin Huts down on the board later in the game. It felt like he was only getting them out last second to catch that RG, but his deck also was kind of heavy. It was kind of tough for him to keep up with the cycle of Inthrills once we got deeper and deeper into double.
Absolutely. I think that the SimCity stacking that we always talk about is very important. That's the reason you have a HUD deck. The HUD deck does not work if you are not stacking the HUDs, because you're not adding the pressure, and that deck is built on the pressure that the Mega Knight is going to be able to build up with all the Spear Goblins. The Spear Goblins end up getting a lot more damage than they should. Then the Miner comes in, kicks in when the Mega Knight is gone, and you have all these Spear Goblins accumulated, and he didn't really take advantage of that. So you're right on the money with that.
Yeah, we did see Topic trying to create offenses out of, coupling cannon carts with miners or just sending in miners alone without spear goblins. But if you have that hut on the board, you can just really make those pushes that much more devastating and scary for your opponent. And then you saw Inthril just really overspending on offense because he was able to defend by taking a little bit of damage and underspending. So here we go. Game number 4, an elimination game here for Topic. Inthril in the lead 2-1. And Topic finally changing things up.
Yeah, it's about time, man. Yeah, I think you just gotta understand when something doesn't work. I tried, it doesn't work. I've played 4 matches. I've lost. Sorry, I think he's played 5 matches with that archetype. He's won 2, lost 3, let it go, and move on to the next. But this is not looking good either.
No, it's not. That P.E.K.K.A comes down. P.E.K.K.A, Ram Rider plus Mother Witch in one lane as these Piggies plus Skeleton Dragons take down the tower on that right-hand side. P.E.K.K.A will connect. Ram Rider will connect. And we're going for a tower trade in the first minute and 20 seconds. We'll see how this fares moving on. Eric, in a 2-tower situation, what do you think? Ram Rider, Hogs?
I'm going Hogs, to be honest. I think... Well, that last P.E.K.K.A hit put it back into an even place, but right before that happened, I think he's still in a good position, to the sense where I think the Ram Rider is a lot easier to defend than it is to defend those Royal Hoggies once they start going into your tower. And he could go for King Tower, exactly that. You can't just go straight up into the King Tower. Yes, the Dark Prince is there, but you just start chipping, and his cycle is a lot quicker also.
1873 to 2549, both on the King Tower as the lowest 2. 2800 and some change for both of their Princess Towers as the Dark Prince will connect. And Inthril sets up a big-time push here on the right-hand side to defend against this P.E.K.K.A and maybe continue his 3-crown journey.
Yeah, and Fireball should come in once the Mother Witch goes down, or at least gets one more troop there. And I don't mind this push at all. I would have loved to see a Fireball come in instead of those dragons. Just now it's an overspend. It was one or the other, in my opinion.
Both come down, which allow that Bandit to connect on that right-hand side, but Inthril still in the lead, 1699 to... As the King Tower takes a little bit more damage on Inthril's side of the board, Cannon Cart stays alive and very healthy.
It's time to, it's really, in my opinion, it was time to go in there. Dark Prince was out of cycle, but now he's going on the full defensive mode. And it's just a weird game to cast, in the sense that neither of them are going full offense and neither of them are going full defense. Like, every time you see a push from one of them, they also have a full-on defense mode or something like that going on at the same time.
Yeah, you see how much was spent there by Topic down by his King Tower. Still takes some damage down to 1178. 1699, the lowest of the 2 towers here for Inthril, with 1 minute and 45 remaining here in overtime. Inthril is wanting to close this set out right now, but having some difficulty doing it. And then the Lightning finally comes in here for Topic.
Yeah, but he does not get onto the tower with it, and this late into the game, I feel like you need to be worried about that tower damage. Does the Bandit dash? It does, and that saves him from a lot of damage going into that King Tower.
Yeah, doesn't even have to worry about playing defense on the King Tower. Drops this Mother Witch super late, does get a Piggy out of it. Those Piggies are all going to work on the left-hand side into a Dark Prince as a Ram Rider plus P.E.K.K.A push comes in here. Last-second Goblin Cage. This is dangerous.
He missed the log on the Ram Rider as well, and this could be it for him in this game. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
That is GG. He missed that log, doesn't get any damage on the Ram Rider, and I think it was just a little bit too aggressive out of Inthril. You need to pick when you're defending and when you're going on offense. Every time he was defending, he was throwing Hogs down as well. Doesn't get any true value out of them. The big pushes that he was able to get value out of was the Dragons comboed with the Hogs, because there is no Fireball out of him. The Lightning will not do anything to him, and he really wasn't taking advantage of that.
So this is how this very stressful game for Topic started out. He loses a tower early on, but is able to take one right back from Inthril. And then we're in a 2-tower situation for the rest of this time. And then you can see right there the overwhelm coming in from Topic. And also you can see right there the relief on Topic's face. He just cannot believe that he was able to come back into that one. It did feel like Inthril was completely in control for a minute. And now we're going to a Game 5 situation. Topic versus Inthril. Topic has now won with his P.E.K.K.A Ram Rider deck, and he's won with one of his Goblin Hut minor decks. He still has Royal Recruits plus Royal Hogs, and he still has the other minor Goblin Hut Mega Knight deck to play.
Topic, look me in the eyes. Do not touch the Goblin Hut deck. Just leave it alone. It's not the time, man. Just leave that over there. Come back tomorrow. You know, play it tomorrow if you want to. But right now, just go ahead in the recruits. You're 1-0 with them. You played a phenomenal game. There's no need to risk it. Obviously, it could backfire on him, and he could get sniped right away with the best deck that Intro, if Intro thinks that's what's going to come out. But I just think you have a better shot with it.
Let's hope that is what he's running. It seems like there's a lot of great responses out there to things in the meta, whether it's the Zappies to slow stuff down, the Royal Hogs as a win condition, the recruits to distract some of those big beefy units, the Fireball. There's so much good in that deck. And now we see Intro going to, wow, okay. All right, so Topic is going to go right back to Goblin Hut as Inthrill is going to go to Royal Hogs here in game number 5, our deciding game, the last game of today.
I mean, I guess within everything, the good news is he does have Mega Knight and HUD for these Royal Hogs, but at the same time, it's just something always goes wrong with this deck, Andrew. I don't know, man. I don't like it.
And already you see there that Pig putting in some work, getting tanked for by that cannon cart. Cannon cart of Topics distracted, and then some nice log chip value there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the best way here for Topic to win, and I genuinely think the way that he wins this, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, you literally play everything behind your King Tower. You do not go on offense until triple elixir hits and you can stack up HUDs. You just sit there throwing everything behind your King Tower, constantly poison that Mother Witch if you have the poison available to you, and other than that, you do not make the moves.
What's the idea behind that, Eric?
If he catches you out of cycle without the Mega Knight like he's about to do here, and he defends that with the cannon cart and he spawns some Hoggies in, you're in a very bad spot. Now you have to spend the Goblin Hut. He doesn't have to spend anything else just to take it out. Obviously, you're still up a little bit on elixir, but you don't ever want to be caught out of the cycle. Now he's going to have to spend and take damage, and there it is. There's no necessity to it.
7 elixir comes down to stop these Royal Hogs for a +2 trade for Inthrill and some good damage coming in. And Topic having to do one of the hardest things in this game, Eric, which is just sit back and wait. And now he's starting to do just that. He sets up a Goblin Hut in the opposite lane behind his Princess Tower, which is something that we hadn't seen him do a lot of earlier with this deck, but it does run right into a Mother Witch. So a miner must come in, take her off the board as she is stacking up that value.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a panic poison. I don't know what it was for. The cannon cart was never going to reach onto tower regardless. You left the Mother Witch alone basically to not have to worry about it. And now he's in a position where he can no longer sit back. Now you need damage, which is not where you want to be with this type of deck, in my opinion. I could be wrong. He's the master of this deck. I guess he's the one that's actually using it. But look at how easily he's defending against everything. The Mega Knight's not even going to get a hit. You just invested about as much as you can possibly invest in a push, and other than that Mega Minion that apparently turned into Godzilla there for a second, that
1329 on that tower because of that Mega Minion, Eric.
Yeah, that Mega Minion did absolute work on that tower, and I guess if Intro has something to take back is maybe next time play those Skelly Dragons a little bit further up so that does not happen to you, but it did happen, and those Skellies, I like the defense. This defense was good.
Yeah, this defense was good, but still behind by 900 HP is Inthrill from that Mega Minion, putting in some work, like you said, getting on top of the tower for, I think, 3 or 4 swings. So now Royal Hogs come in on this left-hand side. Goblin Hut distracts for a second. Log comes down with that cannon cart as the Mega Minion of Topic on the right-hand side does a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, and those are very smart Zappies there. Fireball does come in. Is he able to mitigate that? He is, and this is where it can get a little bit tricky for Inthrill, actually, because he's pushing in with the cannon cart, and he can no longer Hoggies because it'll just bring out a Mega Knight, give him insane value. So this is a push that really is going to lead to absolutely nothing. Other than that one Hoggy getting 1 hit, I believe.
And another Hoggy does spawn. A third Hoggy spawns, 1105, but that cannon cart is doing work. 1052 down to 720 here. All action happening on the left side of the board. And now that MK cycled in the back, it's easy to do there because you think Royal Hogs going down the right-hand side at this point for Inthrill is a little bit too little, too late, but he's still going to try things out. And one of them does get pulled by that cannon cart that falls off its wheels.
I think his play here is just to cycle as quickly as he can back to another set, and I think that's what he's going to try to do. The right-hand side wasn't anything other than a bait to get something going, and there it is. He's cycling as quickly as possible. A beautiful log there, and if he can get some good spell value here, he might be able to bring it back.
Fireball's there, but Miner's there to catch it, and the Miner does do enough work. It leaps onto the tower, and Inthrill has been eliminated. You see Topic celebrating. He loses his headphones, but he gains some sunglasses. He does it in style, and what a crazy back and forth journey for that young man. Starting off yesterday 0-3, he comes out, goes the distance against the Awesome, then runs into Inthrill, has to go the distance again, and we're gonna see him at our finals.
I mean, look, Topic, run whatever deck you want, man. It is what it is. Just go for it, man. I did not expect him to pull off. He didn't pull off one win with it. He pulled off 2 of his victories were part of that. Like, he won 2 matches with those decks in this specific set.
Yep. Crazy, and this is the moment we see that Mega Minion connecting on that left-hand side. That was where the floodgates were open, and then we see this minor chip damage coming in at the end. The Mega Knight leaps, and the big-time celebration. You see Inthrill. I have to commend Inthrill. He did a great job of kind of staying about his wits. He never looked like he was getting overwhelmed. He was always taking deep breaths, trying to make new things happen. Topic, maybe a little bit more inexperienced and a lot more passionate. You see right there, loses the headphones, gains some sunglasses.
I love it.
Him and Predator are both going to work on through. And you know, Eric, when we talk about the top 4 from last season in GameStars, it was Lucas GSM, One Hive Hunter, SB, and Demas or Inthrill. I think it was Inthrill. And now we just have Hugo. Of the remaining players, it's going to be Hugo, Demas, Predator, and Topic. Our final 4 here in GameStars League Season 2. One of them will be walking away with $7,000 tomorrow. All 4 of them are guaranteed about $2,200, I believe, is the minimum that you take away for 4th place. But you know you want that big time $7K prize and bragging rights. So there you see it. Predator and Topic in our lower bracket, the elimination bracket. Hugo and Demas each with 1 life to give. And we will be starting our day off going down to Predator and Topic with 4 new decks. Hopefully, maybe not. Maybe Predator's just going to run 4 different versions of that Goblin Hut Miner deck. And, excuse me.
Topic.
The times are a little bit misleading there. I believe we are still going to start with Predator and Topic. And then we'll go to Hugo and Demas. The loser of Hugo and Demas will go on to play the winner of Topic and Predator. And, of course, the winner of that 3rd set will go on to face our champion in the grand finals. There we go. Thank you guys so much for that. And of course, the person in the top, Hugo or Demas, still have a life to give. Something you have to think about when we get into our grand finals. $30,000 up for grabs in Season 2, but $7K is the prize that you want at the end of the day. And Eric, before we get out of here, we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. You turn on those notifications so you do not miss our last day of action. Go follow GameStars CR everywhere that you can find them, but especially on Twitter, as they're always posting brackets and announcements about their season. What is your big takeaway from today, my friend?
I'm not doubting the Goblin Hut Miner, mate. I'm just not. It is what it is. Topic, I'm going to use it today. In honor of you, I will use it today, and I will probably lose with it, but I will have the same persistence that you did in not allowing it to bring me down until I start winning with it. So, Topic, congratulations to you on winning with that deck. I did not expect it.
He goes to it in both of his game 5s, the Miner Goblin Hut with MK deck. In both game 5s, he finds a win in both of those sets, respectively. So for all of us here at GameStars, for the 4 players remaining, Hugo, Demas, Topic, and Predator, we will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember, keep on clashing.
The international group stage made it possible to determine the lucky ones worthy of the next stage. From the 3rd to the 5th of November, the best 8 players of the tournament will compete for a stunning $30,000 prize pool. Join the stream of the Clash Royale Gamestars Season 2 International Finals and find out who will become the champion.